this is bigger than Ukraine. This is a war about freedom, and it's one we have to win. You look at those Ukrainians and what they do when Russia invaded their freedoms. They moved in there, went to the front lines, and fought for their country. The women said, we're not going to stay back. They made Molotov cocktails to defend their country. Everybody gave them 5 days to survive. But yet their passion and their will pushed them forward. What we have to understand is a win for Ukraine is a win for all of us, because tyrants tell us exactly what they're going to do. What we heard, China said they were going to take Hong Kong. They did it. Russia said they were going to invade Ukraine. We watched that happen. China says Taiwan's next. We better believe them. Russia said Poland and the Baltics are next. If that happens, we're looking at a world war. This is about preventing war. And so the way you prevent war is not that we give cash to Ukraine, not that we put troops on the ground, but that we get with our allies and we make sure that we give them the equipment and the ammunition to win. Because when Ukraine wins, that sends a message to China with Taiwan. It sends a message to Iran that wants to build a bomb. It sends a message to North Korea testing ballistic missiles. And it sends a message to Russia that it's over. That's what we have to do. And keep in mind, everybody wants to know, well, how does this war end? It would end in a day if Russia would pull out. If Ukraine pulls out, then we're all looking at a world war.
So this is a real issue that distinguishes you from some of your opponents. Former President Trump has refused to say whether he believes Russia should win the war or if Putin is a war criminal. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis referred to Russia's invasion of Ukraine as a, quote, territorial dispute. What do you think of that?
I think that that's a mistake that too many have made. That's exactly what got the Europeans in this position with Russia in the first place, is that they're too trustful. You can't be trustful of a regime that goes in and tries to take away people's freedoms. What we need to understand is that Ukraine has the ability to win, but we have to think bigger than that. And for them to sit there and say that this is a territorial dispute, that's just not the case. To say that we should stay neutral, it is in the best interest of America. It's in the best interest of our national security for Ukraine to win. We have to see this through. We have to finish it.
Welcome to another episode of the Post-Duopoly show. I'm one of your hosts. I'm CJ. What's up, Kit?
Hey, how you doing? My name is Kit. I'm with Hard Lens Media. We're live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central. And don't worry, we never pull out of that schedule because that means people would lose. All right, so there you go. Got to keep you all informed. Now I want to hand into the great tag team champions, Dissidents. Yo, Russell, take the lead.
It's like I've been saying all along. Nikki Haley is going to be your next president.
The Nikki wave has started.
Thank you guys for having us. Yeah, I think I host the Dissidents podcast, but now I'm not sure. Is it 2005? We travel back in time 18 years for when Republicans sounded like that? I feel like, I don't know, maybe Coldplay is, playing Madison Square Garden tomorrow. I don't know. I feel like I'm in high school again. I haven't heard a Republican talk like that in almost 20 years. I don't know what race she thinks she's running in, but wow.
She's hoping she's going to get all the Steve Schmidt Republicans.
Yeah.
She's hoping there are enough of them
to
give her momentum.
We have to fight the Russians over there, so we don't have to fight them over here.
When
either
did,
with us or
when
you're
did
with
Putin
Putin.
say he's going into the Baltics and Poland? I've never heard him say that.
When people like Nikki Haley says that shows that they have no defense for the war against Russia, because these shit libs and these neocons, they keep saying that, well, I know you may think, why is the war in Ukraine is important for your life? Well, I'm telling you this. If Ukraine does not beat Russia, they're going to take over Europe next. They're going to be in the, those are the most desperate propagandists because they are desperate to find a way to get people to care about this war. That is not going to happen. Anyone who's been paying attention to this conflict, anyone who says that if Russia loses or if Russia wins, it will lead for their greater imperial conquest, has no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And I would love to see Nikki Haley debate Trump on this.
Well, it's just so absurd. God. I mean, the whole point is that Ukraine is not a NATO country. That's why they invaded them, so that they wouldn't become a NATO country. They won't invade Poland next because Poland's a NATO country and they don't want World War III. We want World War III.
You guys, go ahead, Kit.
The thing is, what we're seeing here, this kind of mindset is the fear and get everyone irrational kind of logic. But see, the thing is, Nikki Haley, as again, all of you have pointed out, that she's stuck in a time frame when the Republican Party used to talk like that. She's not what the voters are looking for in the Republican primary. And because of her inability to probably read the room, she is going to be probably earning more respect from the corporate media, because then the corporate media can say, hey, here's a Republican that will continue on the war in Ukraine and stop Russia. What is this kind of mindset? You hear this kind of logic thinking in one of the old Westwood games, Red Alert or Red Alert 2, where the Soviets and the Russians were the bad guys invading everyone and everything. That's a freaking video game. This is real goddamn life. And unfortunately, you have a lot of brain-dead neoliberals who are saying Nikki Haley's the good Republican that Republicans should be voting for.
That's Morning Joe.
I was just going to say that. I am sure the Morning Joe people are going to eat that speech up if they haven't already. That is right down home plate for them.
Bro, she's about to get a clean 0.5% in the primary.
Oh, you're aiming too high. 5%? I think it's going to be a lot lower.
0.1.
It is just amazing the way they're able to sustain this constant paranoia in a situation where they're not even communists anymore. Like, what do you, they're talking just like this is the Cold War. Oh, the Russian menace is going to spread. We have to stop. What the fuck are you talking about? But
now, if you listen to her speech, you'll see exactly why I inherently oppose NATO in the United States. Listen to what she said in the speech. She said if Russia wins, that will embolden Iran. That will embolden the DPRK. That we won't send a message to China. So the NATO left, the progressive left, they are literally supporting a war based on what's best for U.S. interest. Why would anyone on the left or a quote-unquote progressive do that? Now, I see this all the time because I do a lot of corporate media, oppo research on Ukraine. You get both liberals and conservatives, both of them, at the end of the day, will admit that the Ukraine war is all about upholding U.S. imperial dominance. And that is what she says in the video. She says if Ukraine loses, that will embolden the Chinese and Taiwan. So what is the message that they're sending here? They are sending the message that if any country does not bow to the influence of the West, they will be destroyed. And if we do not destroy Russia, that will send a message to other countries that they can oppose the United States. So as an anti-imperialist and as a leftist, why would you support this agenda that is meant to embolden the United States and NATO? It makes zero sense, which is why you never see the NATO left debate or discuss this issue.
Well, it's a base assumption of empires. What is good for the empire is naturally good for the world because we represent what is right and what is best. This is we have got to subdue the Germans or they're coming to Rome. We have to stop them in Britannia. Right? I mean, this is what this is, and liberals never realize they're the Romans.
I think liberals always kind of imagine themselves as being the defenders, this weird LARPing defenders of the world. And I think a lot of these liberals have the mindset that they want to be the hero of their own story, when in fact, the majority of these warmongers, a lot of these people who are in the vote blue no matter who sphere, are just people who have a clear mental illness. They've never come to terms that they're mediocre, and then they are mediocre. And I think I'm really tired of placating a lot of these quote unquote fake resistance people. These people who would make a name for themselves, especially during the Trump administration. And maybe I'm just being too aggressive towards the activist community. And I'm not saying it's all activists, but I'm just when I see former or people who were anti-war screaming that Trump's going to cause World War III, now I see them saying, "Oh, we got to resist Putin, and we have to send in more tanks and more artillery shells." I'm like, "You goddamn bastard!
Basically,
you wasted hours of my life.
Point.
You wasted hours of my life when I would cover those goddamn protests in Chicago, all those cold winters, all those rain things. I would have been better sitting at home." You know, wasted my time.
What I was going to say is that she goes on. If you haven't seen the town hall, it's literally basically like pro-war sort of propaganda throughout the entire
so
thing.
she's going like full Mitt Romney, basically.
Right. So I wanted you guys to hear this 60-minute snippet here about, just listen how she's trying to show her strength here.
Oh, by the way, can I read
You
something
have
here
called
real quick?
Putin a quote evil tyrant.
Sorry. Axel Strife Zero. I want to read this what they wrote here, and they said the NATO left wants the Star Trek Federation, which I completely agree with. Was the statement here, which reads like a utopia until you realize who is behind the wheel in our current empire. And I don't want to go on a science fiction, rant, but I always had my suspicions of the Federation. It felt like something was cut out. That utopia just sounds just too perfect.
He cannot be trusted. How do you deal with a foreign leader that you cannot trust?
Well, first of all, let's look at where we are. So you've got Russia invading Ukraine. You've got North Korea testing ballistic missiles. You've got Iran trying to build a bomb.
How dare
You've
they
got
test
chaos
their
everywhere,
equipment?
right?
So this is the part I was talking about. Sorry, I'll let it play. But this is the part I was talking
go ahead.
about. She said we must defeat Russia, or these other countries will do what countries do. What we are here to do is to force people to bow to the U.S. empire. But if we defeat Russia, we show all the other countries that you better shut the fuck up and follow the United States orders. So as a leftist, why would anyone cheer for this result? Like, aren't we rooting for the sovereignty of countries as leftists? How can you be Bernie Sanders and sleep at night having your position? How can you be Marianne Williamson and sleep at night having your position? Seeing what Nikki Haley is saying out loud about their agenda and why they support the war. They're not saying they support the war because we have to stay in war. We want to protect the Ukrainian people. That's not what they're saying. Nikki Haley is straight up saying we support this war because it would further the United States' interests. That is disgusting that any leftist will support that, and that's why that's a cancelable offense for me. Right? Go ahead.
You said he cannot be trusted. How do you deal with a foreign leader that you cannot trust?
Well, first of all, let's look at where we are. So you've got Russia invading Ukraine. You've got North Korea testing ballistic missiles. You've got Iran trying to build a bomb. We've got chaos everywhere, right? But none of that would have happened had we not had that debacle in Afghanistan.
Oh, my God.
The idea that we left Bagram Air Force Base in the middle of the night without telling our allies who stood shoulder to shoulder with us for decades because we asked them to be there. Think about what that told our friends. More importantly, think about what that told our enemies. So now
she's definitely not a serious candidate.
None of this should have.
So I'll be quick because I want to actually curious to hear what she says. But we all knew she's not a serious candidate. But this town hall confirms it, guys. She's not performing a job interview to be president. She's performing a job interview to be a lobbyist of armed weapon manufacturers right now.
I think she's angling for. I think she's angling for a threesome with Joe and Mika, and I got to tell you, as a leftist,
they'll put her right in there.
As a leftist, I think that's a worthwhile endeavor. I think if you're really on the left, you should want to see that.
No,
so I say go, Nikki.
I want to rip off my eyes.
She's on a roll.
Man. Come on,
she's on a roll.
I don't want to see that, dude. No, for the love of God, please show mercy to the people.
All right, well then you're fake.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, guys, back to the video.
Simp.
Happened. Biden had a whole year to prevent that war in Ukraine, and he didn't do it. Russia surrounded Ukraine. Where was everybody? There was an opportunity to stop it. That's what we have to make sure of. So when you're dealing with Russia and China, I'll give you an example. The Russian plane knocked down our U.S. drone a couple weeks ago. Remember that? What did we do about it? Nothing. You know what I would have done if I was president? Put 2 drones up there and a fighter jet and put our naval fleet back in the Black Sea because it never should have left in the first place.
Jesus Christ, she makes Hillary
Just hear me out, people. 1,000-year Reich.
People think, and I'm talking about the Morning Joe shitlib, the average liberal, right? They think she's worse, that she's better than Trump. They think Trump is better than her. Like when I hear that, when you show me CJ, I see a psychopath of the highest order. Like as crazy as it gets on Washington, she said, I'm gonna put on one hell of a performance and crazy ass neocon shit. Like, I don't know, like I don't have no idea who she's trying to win over.
Well, this is what's really tragic. I would expect this from a Democrat. Like watching that would be much more in place in a Democratic town hall. That's where they live. At this point, the Republican Party has become such as there is a party that represents anti-war. it's the Republican, not necessarily the party, but the base of the party. Like listening to that, I get what Republican voters do you think are going to say, yeah, that sounds like a damn good idea. Put out there in Black Sea.
So there's one more clip. Any other thoughts on that one? Because since we talking about Nikki Haley, there's one clip in particular that I want to.
If you have one, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Any last thoughts on that clip before I move on?
One thing. Okay, so what do we hear from the infamous Trump town hall at CNN? He wanted people to stop dying. All right, dying. That's how he was wording it. Plus, he was saying he could bring a peace deal between Zelensky and Putin in 24 hours, saying he knows them both very well. Here you have Trump, the quote unquote, at least according to the liberal hive mind, the Adolf Hitler of our times. And instead of him saying, I'm going to put all the drones, the biggest drones in the world, he's saying, I want to do peace talks. When the hell did Nikki Haley become the lady version of Hitler, flying under everyone's radar, and Trump becoming the potential Nobel Peace Prize winner to put Obama to shame? Because that's the world we're entering into, and that's how crazy things are. When Trump is calling for peace, and you have Nikki Haley, the quote-unquote good Republican that liberals want, calling for unending war. Does anyone not see the madness with the liberals? This is why we can't work with liberals in the Democratic Party. This is why we have to break away from the Democratic Party, because this is what the Democratic Party wants. They want Republicans like that. They want everyone not to challenge anything and to listen to the system. That's it.
Well, Trump will never win a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know if you know this, Kit, but you have to bomb a minimum of 4 countries in order to be eligible for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Right,
so
exactly.
He missed the chance. Maybe if he gets a second term, he'll work on that.
Well, then you'll get the Republicans don't really play this line too much, but if you very often when you criticized Hillary Clinton on her bloodthirsty record, liberals would come back with, if you're a woman, you know, Bernie Sanders can get away with it. Not that he was so great on that issue, but if you're a woman, you've got to be a war hawk. I said, well, hang on. So you want women in office, right? So do you really think that's the best case to make for women in office? You're saying they have to be bloodthirsty warmongers? Now, I don't believe that. In fact, I'll give you an example. Her name is Barbara Lee. She was the only person to vote against the Iraq war, and she's still in office. She didn't get thrown out for being a woman who took an anti-war stand. But if you push them hard enough on this, that's what they'll hide behind. Right? Whenever they get the chance to hide behind identity politics, they will. But with women and war, when they get a Hillary Clinton, that's their go-to.
Right, which is a really feminist statement there to say that, well, we need women to sort of mimic the worst qualities of men in order to win. Right.
Well, but that's the fault of the retrograde voters. That's not their fault. They have to play to it and cater to it. But really, is that an argument? Like, I don't believe that. I don't believe women have to be that way to get elected. But that's a terrible argument for electing women. You're telling me that the chances are better if we elect a woman of getting into a war because you're telling me her hands are tied by her sex, that she can't actually, she has less freedom of movement in matters of war because she's a woman.
I saw one more clip from the town hall. Kate, anything else you want to add?
This is just a hypothetical question, but do you think a lot of these quote unquote democratic neoliberals are trying to recreate like a Joan of Arc or Boudicca to like have it as like their propaganda piece, like how they had Obama, like have their identity politics person to play a role in history that they're going to manufacture? I mean, this is a hypothetical question, but do you think that's what they're trying to look for?
Well, yeah, that's why they're sending Kamala to the front lines. It also has the advantage of they can pick somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Again, that's just throwing it out there because it seems like they want to manufacture they want to create a historical Frankenstein, not realizing that if we do get into World War III, it's the absolute extinction of the human species, but something else altogether.
So
I don't know. I'm counting on a Planet of the Apes kind of future, you know. We'll be there, but we'll be the underclass.
So I didn't see the clip that you shared, CJ. That's probably the only clip worth watching during the town hall. You see her speak about foreign policy, And if you're an uninformed voter, you can see that clip and you can say, hell no, she's a pro-war maniac. There's one clip I saw on Twitter of this town hall that I was like, all right, there's zero chance I'm watching this shit. Because I don't know how much you guys been paying attention to this early Republican primary field. It is unbelievably cartoonish. So you see Nikki Haley here outflanking Trump to the right on war, and that's their strategy. You got Chris Christie, that his strategy is going to be outflanking Trump to his right. Ron DeSantis' strategy is to flank Donald Trump to his right, especially on culture war issues. So you're going to outflank Trump for his right on culture war issues, and he's going to paint himself as the competent Trump. The other candidates, we don't really know what their angle is going to be. Now, I noticed this. How are they going to take out Ron DeSantis? Because you got to take out Ron DeSantis in order to be a legitimate challenger to Trump. And Nikki Haley realizes that. So Nikki Haley and a lot of the other non-DeSantis, non-Trump candidates, they are pushing the culture war in the most cringe extremes. Now, this is the only clip I've seen from
really?
And listen to this part. I want you guys to react, because this is, no matter where you fall on this issue, unbelievably absurd. I'm going to show you guys why here soon.
I want to start with biological boys playing in girls' sports. That's one thing. The fact that we have gender pronoun classes in the military now. I mean, all of these things that are pushing what a small minority want on the majority of Americans, it's too much. It's too much. I mean, the idea that we have biological boys playing in girls' sports, it is the women's issue of our time.
Women's issue.
My daughter ran track in high school. I don't even know how I would have that conversation with her. How are we supposed to get our girls used to the fact that biological boys are in their locker rooms? And then we wonder why a third of our teenage girls seriously contemplated suicide last year. We should be growing strong girls, confident girls. Then you go and you talk about building.
So there's this pattern of despair in this country because of capitalism. Capitalism in our culture put us to a point where we have records amount of depression, records amount of people killing themselves. You have people living in poverty. You want to know what Nikki Haley what she blame our culture of despair on? The 10 trans athletes in this country. So this is why this is unserious. No matter where you fall on this issue, you're a presidential candidate. You got all these issues going on, and this is my critique of capitalists. They pick these issues that are divisive so they can be unserious. Why do I say this? She's saying that we have this depression problem because of trans athletes in sports. And this is my number one issue with this being a giant political problem. There's barely any trans athletes in the United States, especially considering how much this is dominating our political discussion. Right. So as a Marxist, I understand the strategy that capitalists use is to distract workers and get them to fight over completely irrelevant bullshit. And I'm gonna say this straight up front. As someone who don't have kids, this is especially irrelevant for me. Now, if you do have kids, I see people say this all the time. I have a daughter. What if she get passed up on a scholarship because of trans athletes? How many trans athletes in the United States there is? This is not an issue. Not an issue. According to the entire country, there is less than 100 trans athletes, and that don't even include trans women. A lot of those are trans men as well. So, like, if you look at trans women, this is what the article breaks down. There's maybe 40 in the whole fucking country. In Missouri, I looked it up. In Missouri, they said there's like 6 or 7 trans athletes in the whole state. Meanwhile, there's a redneck in Joplin, Missouri, who he stayed up at night having nightmares over his daughter fighting this theoretical trans athlete. But meanwhile, Nikki Haley's like, there's girls all over the country committing suicide.
Yeah, the suicide line.
That's
so stupid, right? So that's why I want to bring this up. It shows how unserious she is. And I say this no matter what your position on this issue is. This is not an issue, and I strongly believe it is. This is not a political issue. This issue should never touch the mainstream. This is deeply unserious. And this whole trans athlete shit is something that's been dominating political discourse. When you read these articles, I literally looked this up. Joanna Harper estimates the number can't exceed 100. Out of thousands and thousands and millions of students, y'all niggas are worried about So that's my thought. You guys put it back if you want. I'm interested here. We got something before we move on.
So, yes, I think these issues are used to divide us. Like, how did these issues in general become so central to our public discourse? Like transgender issues in general. Like, how did that? Because going by on the athletes, you're talking about something that affects 0.06% of the population. So how did this become the issue? And that's just not just coming from the Republican side. It's coming from all sides. I mean, I
have an answer for that, for how did it become an issue. And I talked about this before in another segment. It's my belief all of this is just a political campaign strategy by the GOP. This is just a new strategy, and follow my logic here. All of us here, we're kind of in big cities and on the coast. Trans stuff, that shit, this is so like 10 years ago for me. Like this is so 10 years ago. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But not in middle America. And selling conservatism is always sold to middle America. You look at it, it's just red, a big blob of red in the middle. So these sort of new issues or like not new, but like issues that have not permeated to middle America to be mainstream, they go, let's take that. That's why you think they pick CRT. That's not even happening. That's not even happening. I mean, so they pick these issues. They pick these issues so that they can Go ahead.
I think they use them, but they didn't pick them. This wasn't even on their radar. They're not the ones who pushed such extreme representations of these ideas. This was they weren't even paying attention to this. As you say, in the Midwest, I don't think they even knew about this shit. I think there are people who fundraise off trolling conservatives who push this issue out front, and the conservatives bit, and politicians are taking advantage of the backlash. Now, on that level, it's a political issue in this sense. Don't underestimate the potency of it. It's a very potent issue in certain places and with certain framing. And it may only be 100, but if the example that you show is Leah Thomas blowing out the swim team, if the example that you show is the MMA fighter breaking a woman's face, you know what? That makes a hell of a campaign ad.
Well, I also think it's not so much coastal places versus middle America. I think the real battle in terms of the electoral space is suburbs, right? And I think it plays well in suburbs. Suburbs in New York, suburbs in Michigan, suburbs in Washington State, suburbs in California, right?
Look at Virginia. Look at Virginia. Look at Youngkin.
I think
and look at how DeSantis did in Democrat districts. I'm sorry, kid.
Yeah, no, I think if you look at the whole country, you can see voter priorities and voter trends in urban areas, rural areas, and those suburban areas, which is where a lot of these races are won and lost because, as we've said on this show a few times now, a lot of the radical energy has been filtered out of the electoral space. And so what does that mean? That means that whoever wins the, suburban wine mom usually wins the race. That was true in Virginia. It was true in Florida when they went red in 2021 and 2022. It was true in the midterms in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, where they went blue. And that's why Democrats held on to those statewide races. So, look, these things do play in the suburbs. I don't think they play enough to win a national contest, especially when in a national presidential race, you're going to have a lot bigger issues to deal with by the time that race runs around.
Not by itself,
so I don't think they will carry the day. So I don't think anybody's going to be able to anti-woke their way into the White House. So in that sense, I think you're absolutely right. But in certain races, in certain places, they do sort of tip the scales. And that goes both ways, by the way, because that shit bit the Republicans in the form of Roe v. Wade in the midterms, right?
Yeah.
That's a social issue. I don't know if you call it a cultural issue since it's not as niche. It's more real world, right? There are a lot more women in need of reproductive care than there are trans athletes swimming against boys, right? But those social issues do pull a lot of weight in the suburbs because the suburbs are full of people who don't pay attention much to the economic stuff because they more or less have enough money, right? And unless World War III really cranks up, but by November 2024, which it very well might, and I actually think it will, then, those issues may or may not carry a lot of weight then also.
Now, there's two reasons I believe that they push these issues since we're talking about this. The first one I already explained, and that's the most important part to realize, that capitalists want to do everything they can to get workers to fight among themselves. I forgot which one you guys said it, but one of you guys said that, I think maybe Russell, that they don't pick the issues. And whoever said that is 100% correct. They look at polls. And they like those. So they saw that this was a very controversial issue because of those very extreme examples you point out, Russell. So they don't care. They in their ivory towers. They don't give a fuck about any of these issues. So they see that the average peasant cares, and they're like, we found one. We found the issue. They're going to get them to forget about the material needs and have to focus on the one transgender that live within the 50-mile radius of them, right? And they're also the second reason that I believe that they do this is that had nothing to do with winning elections. It's about duopoly support. What do I mean by this? The trans issue is similar to the abortion issue for Democrats. It's very similar to any Democratic Party culture war. If you're a poor working white class man, and let's say you have some conservative beliefs and you are generally anti-war, you kind of fed up with two-party duopoly. These people exist. I know one. I know quite a few of these people. So how do you get this poor white worker like, I think Lindsey Graham full of shit. I think John McCain full. I think these people full of shit. You get these poor white people to care about transgender people in sports, and then they all say, we got to defeat the Democrats because they're forcing trans people to play against, they're forcing women to play against men. So
you're right. You're right.
The cabinet, same way Democrats use culture wars at cabinet to keep leftists voting for them. This is how Republicans use this as a way to get poor white people who have no material reasons, zero material reason to vote Republican. They're gonna get these poor white people to vote Republican because they worry about trans people, because they worry about CRT.
And the reason the Democrats embrace these issues is because if they didn't, they'd be revealed as Republicans.
Yeah.
What difference would there be otherwise? So both of the parties in the duopoly, they have an interest in playing up these issues, right? For the Republicans, it gins up their voters and distracts from the fact that they're not covering their economic interests. For the Democrats, it gives them the only way they can distinguish themselves from the Republicans is culture. It keeps people from digging into their economics.
Oh, my bad, Russell. But the other comment that you put up.
I'm sorry. I can go back to it.
If you have it, no big deal. But one of the comments said that it used to be about gay rights than gay. I think this is it. And this is a point I made a long time ago on our screens. Why I think this shit is stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
It used to be always about gay marriage and abortion.
Yeah.
So now Roe v. Wade repealed and gay marriage is legal. It's about trans and CRT. You see how they always find new shit? We gotta have the intellectual and revolutionary discipline as a working class to just opt out of this bullshit. Because I remember when the whole drag show shit was going on. I remember we had like a super chat, a comment out asking me how I feel about the drag show shit. I said the same way I felt about it in 2005. Like people pretend that drag shows and drag people are like fucking new. Like drag shows has been a thing ever since I've been alive. Since the 90s, I knew about drag shows. I knew about drag queens. And remember, I was a kid in the 90s. I was a kid in the 90s, kid in 2000s. I knew exactly what this shit was. Now, all of a sudden, in 2023, now this is a giant issue. Why do you think that is? It's not
because they're bringing children to drag shows.
Right. Have they ever heard of Bosom Buddies? Have you ever heard the show Bosom Buddies? I was gonna play that for an intro one time.
It was cute.
Yeah, with Tom Hanks.
That was Tom Hanks, and who's that guy?
I forget the other guy.
It must be hard to be the other guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It was a show about a sitcom about two guys who had to technically forced to be dressed up as women to move into this low income apartment complex that was women only. So most of the show they would be dressed as women, pretending to be these two women that live in this. This was like in the 80s, 70s, 80s or something like that. Yeah.
According to conservatives, and you guys know I pay attention to the discourse. According to conservatives, drag shows is like this new thing that has been promoted by the woke liberal left that came out of nowhere. No, this is always
not really though. Not really. Look, just like what we're saying with the trans, that they're going to find extreme examples. There's a video we couldn't show on the show. We were going to do a commentary.
How you know those extreme examples?
There are a lot of videos of kids stuffing dollars into G-strings
before the internet. So
how do you know what?
They're finding the most extreme examples. Like, we live in a country of 350 million people plus. So imagine if you were in the 70s, you could find the same fucking videos that's out today, but there was no internet. So now they got internet, like showing what all the crazy people are doing now. This has always been a thing.
But it goes both ways, because you got the libs insisting that, I don't know, bringing 6-year-olds to drag shows is a human right or some shit, and then you wind up with these videos of drag performers literally in G-strings in front of kids. Now, whatever you think about that, it's politically damaging. Like, where's the difference? And again, I say with this, they weren't paying attention to drag shows. And most of the conservatives I see talk about this say drag shows for adults, whatever. I mean, you got some extremists, but most of them have a libertarian attitude about it. It's the kids thing that they'll hit on. And that, look, yeah, it's a niche issue, but it's a niche in both directions, because you do have that niche that trolled these people. And you can't then be surprised that they got trolled. You wanted to troll them. Mission accomplished. Now they're all up in arms about these videos of kids stuffing dollar bills into drag queens G-strings. You wanted to troll them. Mission accomplished. Now you've given them a political issue.
That is spot on. I think we can close that out. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
We can close that segment out. I think we can.
Yeah, let's go ahead and close it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and read a couple of announcements, and then I think we got some super chats. You want to start with those, Nick? Let's start with the super chats, and then I'll do a couple announcements here.
Yeah. Let me pull the super chats. So we have a few. Big shout out to Andrew James, who became a new member on YouTube. Thank you for $20, Bennett. Weiss, I love each of your podcasts individually, but somehow when you five get together, the whole is even greater than the sum of its parts.
Voltron.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Much love, Bennett. Solidarity super sticker from Abiding.
All right.
We also have $5 from None of Your Business. Cornel supporting Biden when he knows Biden's history with minorities make him a sellout to me. Why did he tell us to vote blue or die? And that was something that was something that was extremely disappointing, because Dr. Cornel West supported Joe Stein in 2016. So I remember when Dr. Cornel West endorsed Biden, I was like, bro, what are you doing? What?
Oh God, I remember that too.
What happened?
And there was a couple other people too who did that.
Yeah. Man, Trump derangement syndrome scared the shit out of our older comrades and the professional managerial class. Remember, Dr. Cornel West is a member of the professional managerial class, and Trump scared the shit out of them. I don't know if you guys read the Chris Hedges Substack.
I looked at it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, he nails it on how both neoliberalism and neoconservatism is harming poor working class people. I just don't understand, and if you read it for, he actually does a good job nailing, like, yeah, neoliberalism not going to be anything better than neofascism.
You're talking about the Cornel West interview?
Yeah, this is the interview that he had on Chris Hedges, and he explains this concept really well. He explained that concept really well before 2020. So I don't understand. I remember watching a few of his interviews, like, how are you not making the same analysis when it's down to Biden versus Trump? And unfortunately, that hurt a lot of his credibility. It is that simple. Like, he had a great track record. He had one L, but I had that same L too, of supporting Obama in 2008. But he dim exited a long time ago, supported Joe Stein, and then went back for Biden in 2020. I think that harmed a lot of his credibility with the post-Duopoly leftists, which is why I think it's shocking. We're going to get to this here very soon. I think it's shocking, very surprising that he's running, especially running as a third party. That's great. Anyway, we get to that, so I don't want to spoil it. Thank you for the $10, Bennett. How will a nuclear holocaust a month before the election influence the outcome? Good for Dems, good for bacteria.
Depends on where it hits.
Yeah, this is the official People's Party. Big shout out to for being a member. But anyway, I think that's the last few super chats, and that's It's kind of weird. I know. That threw me off. We got another one here. Is this actually the People Party channel?
I don't think this
No.
is actually.
No,
that.
it's
I think
not.
this is
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
they're trolling. They're
It's
trolling.
No, I think there's another People's
not.
Party thing. The People's Party, like there's the MPP, which is the Nick Brana thing, but then there's another People's Party account that's not the Nick Brana.
There is.
I don't
Yes,
think they're
I've
trolling.
seen
I
that
don't think they
before.
created a fake name. I think that's something else.
That's just a separate. That's just a
okay.
separate.
Yeah, that's
separate
why I
one.
expect.
Because
Yeah.
I had to
That's
double
funny.
check that. I was looking on YouTube. Wait a minute. 'Cause I'm getting a couple. I was like, I don't think so.
I was about to say, are we being bribed? Is this a bribe?
I was watching
Yeah.
this out of the corner of my eye in the private chat. All this drama developing.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
I'm pretty
come
sure
on.
they'd have to report that to the FEC if they're going to
Yeah.
become a member of your channel on a stream when we're talking
They
about
do.
that.
Nick,
Yeah.
is that you?
Well, that.
No, I don't think so.
All right. So let's.
Go
go.
ahead, CJ.
Yeah, I'll just shout out a couple of things here. Make sure you get on our Substack for when we go live. In particular, this show here. Sometimes it could be on a Monday or a Tuesday, and it's usually every other week. But so that you don't miss it, join our Substack, and that goes for everybody on Rumble, because we are now streaming on Rumble. In 2 days, Nick, I think we gained 1,800 followers in 3 days. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
On
awesome. Over on
Rumble.
Rumble?
Nice.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, since the Rumble
Very
launched,
nice. Very nice.
Very good.
yeah, so welcome everybody on Rumble. Happy to be there. For the new people on YouTube, because we actually hit 35,000 subscribers a couple of days ago, so welcome. We also have YouTube memberships if you're interested. And the last thing, we want to always shout out our website, because we are now starting to hit the ground in upcoming events. So make sure you check out our website, revolutionaryblackoutnetwork.com. You can check out our stories, some of our beliefs, clips. You can see updates on the work on the library, like from beginning to end. You'll see
wow.
some of the it's a lot of work.
wow.
Like it's incredible how
Where is it? Where is this?
Detroit. Yeah, so our library will be in
Wow.
Detroit. Yeah.
So cool. That is so cool.
It's just a great story.
And what's it
about the
gonna
library.
what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be stocked with?
We already got people donating books, but it's kind of not only a library. Like if kids coming after school, they need a little after school tutoring. It would just be like a bunch of different things happening.
Excellent.
But it's all happening at this library. But
Yeah,
the main
you
focus
let-
will be the books. Yeah.
You let me know where to donate. As you can tell, I have a lot of books.
Yeah, he's got a lot of books.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry you're
absolutely.
telling me this now. I just gave away a bunch of Star Wars books like a few months ago.
Whoa.
Wow, that would actually been good, because it's going to be a lot of.
Oh, I
had
have
a
a ton of
showing up
books.
at
I
the
got a
library,
bunch.
yeah.
I have a bunch of kids' books. A ton of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could send them over
So
there.
when he starts, because he's getting the books already, even though he doesn't have the storage, so he's like, hold on until I start asking for the
Right.
books before he send more. So when he does that, we'll let everybody know. But I think we can get to the topic at hand. We kind of have two. I thought that the RFK story would kind of be the lead story before this other news dropped, but let's start with the or let's move to the Cornel West, and I do want to set up a couple of just sort of questions to kind of start the conversation that I wrote down. Let me see here. Dr. Cornel West runs for president with MPP. Now we're going to call it MPP for the sake of discussion, so we know we're talking specifically about the group with Nick Brana. So that's just make sure you know that. We're going to try to use that here. So let me share my screen and show you the Cornel West stuff here. So let's start with the announcement. I guess we can just watch the video, and then I want to insert some questions before we kind of get started to get the conversation going. But let's start with it's not too long of a video. The announcement, the announcement video right here. It's about 2.5 minutes. So let's watch it in its entirety. Then I'll insert the questions, and then we'll get right into the discussion. It feels like everybody's here for that. So let's get to it. Here is Cornel West with his announcement.
In these bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party. I enter into quest for truth. I enter into quest for justice. And the presidency is just one vehicle to pursue that truth and justice, what I've been trying to do all of my life. I come from a tradition where I care about you. I care about the quality of your life. I care about whether you have access to a job with a living wage, decent housing, women having control over their bodies, health care for all, de-escalating the destruction of the planet, the destruction of American democracy. Democracy creates disruption. It creates an eruption. It creates an interruption. Wide from below, the energies of everyday people is manifest. And I know there are precious people in your life who you care for. That's why it's important for you to be involved, important for you to participate. We're not talking about hating anybody. We're talking about loving. We're talking about affirming. We're talking about empowering those who have been pushed to the margins, because neither political party wants to tell the truth about Wall Street, about Ukraine, about the Pentagon, about big tech. Neo-fascists like Brother Trump, milquetoast neoliberals like Brother Biden. Wow, I'm so happy to make a world-shaking decision. You know what I mean? Well, I know gangsters when I see them. And gangster's not a subjective expression. It's an objective condition. Do we have what it takes? We shall see. But some of us are going to go down fighting, go down swinging with style and a smile, accenting the best in you and trying to tease out the best in me. Let's do it together.
Let me insert. Hold on. Let me insert a couple of questions here to kind of get it started off. And there's 1, 2, 3, 5 questions. So, the bare bones bottom line is that the Movement for a People's Party do not have ballot access in 47 states. So how is that?
They have it in 3.
That's what I've seen online. I've only been able to verify 1, and that's Florida, with articles and different things. But people are saying, I've seen it multiple, like 100, a lot. That
I thought Virginia and California, right?
And so then it must be Virginia, California, because I know Florida. Those are the articles that I found.
Yeah.
So the next question: does party matter or not? And if it doesn't, why not the Democratic Party? That's another question. Are working class people supposed to donate to a candidate who's not going to be on the ballot in 47 states? Who's going to donate to the People's Party after all the financial corruption that they've went through? Who's going to do that? When corporate media finds out about the allegations against Nick Brana, who started this party, how is that going to go? So those are my questions about this, because Cornel West is the candidate that everybody has been wanting to run. Everybody, a Cornel West, a Shama Sawant type character. The only thing that I would change about this ad, it would say Green Party at the end of the ad.
Thank you.
If he came out as a green, this would be a game-changing event. But the bottom line, regardless of Nick Brana, they are not on the ballot. So I want to throw it out to the group. Chime in, whatever you want, what you've been waiting to say. But those are the questions I kind of want to make sure we get to. Go ahead.
May I shoot first, please? I have to get this off my chest. Okay, so here in the state of Illinois, we have very harsh draconian laws, and the Illinois Libertarian Party and the Illinois Green Party have been on my show. I've interviewed them in the field. numerous times that I've lost count. And even though they are legitimate parties, they have to struggle every election year just to get enough signatures to be on the ballot. And they struggle like hell to even get on the debate stage. And they rarely even get that opportunity, even when they meet the qualifications. So my question is right now to the People's Party. You get started sometime after the 2016 primary, but come to fruition in 2020. You had all this time to start building infrastructure, but during that time, what have we been bombarded with was the People's Party? And I hate saying this about a third party because I want there to be third parties. I want there to be independent candidates. But when you have allegations of abuse, financial mismanagement, and also for the fact that whatever love that did originally come from the support for the People's Party dissipate in less than a year. I'll be generous, maybe in a year. That's how long it was ongoing. Dr. Cornel West, you have a mountain to climb. And plus, with Nick Brana, there's a lot of baggage with him. Again, CJ, you bring up the point. What happens when corporate media or the late night comedians decide to have their little laughs and go at it? Or when Majority Report or TYT have their go at it for the People's Party? It is going to end in a matter of just a few months. So many people are already talking about it and how much either one, this is a good thing. Yes, you're going with the name, but his name, Dr. Cornel West, is attached to the People's Party. Do they have a real solid infrastructure for the logistics of getting into every single state? Because each state is different for a third-party candidate. Illinois, I already mentioned what third parties have to go through. Each other state are either worse or maybe slightly a little bit better, and that's not saying much. Not to mention, if Dr. Cornel West really wants to get his name out there, hey, he's got to fight to be on the ballot or be on the debate stage. Is this Nick Brana's last hurrah for the People's Party? Because since then, ever since they made that great town hall announcement, where even Marianne Williamson participated into it, they have been under the radar. This is not how you build a proper party. And even with the Greens, with the amount of trouble and baggage that they have, it would have been far better for Dr. Cornel West, for his name, and for the third-party movement for him to be with the Greens than it is to be with the People's Party.
The question is, would the Greens have him? Right? The Greens slammed the door in Ventura's face. They were going to make him run a primary. Would if Cornel West wanted to run as a Green, maybe he could have. Maybe the People's Party said, hey, we'll put you on our ballot line where we have it, and we'll try to get it where we don't have it. All right, so here's what I think about this. First of all, Cornel West is a national treasure. I think he's a beautiful person with a big heart and a brilliant mind. His platform is by far the best of anyone who has come forward so far. You combine that Bernie agenda domestically with a critique of NATO. Disband NATO is on the platform there, so he really combines the foreign policy vision with the domestic vision. And even in a cheesy campaign announcement, when he's talking, I can't look away. Like, I just can't. Mm-hmm. Like, it's impossible to trash Cornel West. I don't have it in me to do that. I would love to support his run. However, what Nick said to Marianne Williamson applies here as well. Nick, what you said to Marianne was, hey, the working class got burned for $100 million in the Bernie Sanders campaign. Why should we invest in you? Given the People's Party's history, and full disclosure, I've interviewed Nick Brana twice. I've met him. My experiences with him personally have been positive, as have my experiences with his dad. But the bottom line is, it is evident, it is self-evident, it is very, very clear that the way they have operated over these past few years have left a lot of people feeling very burned. People who know we're not infiltrators, we're not psyops, we're not feds. That's one thing. If you're going to run for president, you got to cut with those fucking bullshit excuses, okay? This is not double-A Scranton Wilkes-Barre. You're running for president. This is Major League Baseball, okay? I feel like they need a Gordon Ramsay intervention where he goes into the kitchen and says, pull your head out of your ass, mate. You're failing. You're failing. You're not feds. They're volunteers. You failed them with your bullshit. Get it together or you're going to go down. That's what the People's Party needs right now. Now, because I love Cornel West, and because right now, yes, Nick Brana has a lot of baggage in this community of ours, this online left space. Guess what? The country, by and large, doesn't know Nick Brana from their asshole, okay? They don't know who this guy is. So right now, if Cornel West is the candidate for president, That means that currently, outside of our little insulated online left world, right, the representative, the figurehead, who now represents the People's Party is not Nick Brana. It's Cornel West. He reps the party right now. Now, we understand that underneath that, there's a lot of issues. And those issues need to be sorted out, and it's absolutely valid to point all of those things out. It's absolutely valid to be very, very concerned. Hey, if we donate a bunch of money to this campaign, if we put money in, if we put time in, how do we know this is not just part of a branding exercise for MPP and the people who stand to benefit from it after the campaign ends? Those are all absolutely valid. But what I would say to them is they have 3 months to prove that they can do something. And they have to prove that they can fucking do something. They have a donor list still. They have people. They have donors. They have volunteers who they have burned. They owe it to their volunteers. They owe it to the people who feel burned by them to prove to them that they can actually make a serious run for this. Now, if we're not talking about winning the presidency, if they're talking about getting that 5% number for federal funding, whatever the goal is, it is incumbent upon the People's Party to make the case by Labor Day. That would be the deadline I would give them. Make the case that this is worth investing in. And I say that because I think Cornel West is someone I very much believe in. I very much believe in him. And I think one of the things that has gotten lost in this is a respect for his judgment. We say, well, how can you lend credibility to the People's Party given everything that's happened? Well, maybe he knows something. Maybe he thinks something we don't. This is a guy whose intellect I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And so I'm not willing to throw this candidacy under the bus right now. However, I will put in the caveat that the People's Party, MPP, sorry, we'll use that. I don't want to insult our friend who just became a member.
Yeah.
MPP has a lot of explaining to do. They have a lot of convincing to do. They have a lot of goodwill to win back that they have burned through. And all the bullshit excuses about infiltration and sabotage and shit like that. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. Sorry. Money talks, bullshit walks. Coffee is for closers only. You're running for president now. Get those excuses out of here. That's something, by the way, that the left needs to learn quick, whether you're running a candidate or not. No more of this crap. No more of this crap. If you're going to run to win. Yes, you're going to be up against it. Yes, the media is going to smear Cornel West no matter where he fucking runs. Right? It doesn't matter. Nick Brana's
that's not his voters.
Right, exactly. But you gotta have a killer instinct, and you have to, if you are MPP, you have a lot of ground to cover in these 3 months. And so
47 states. Let me insert this. 47 states in a year.
But what they're going to need for that is they're going to need boots on the ground. I've seen some people saying he doesn't have ballot access, meaning Nick Brana doesn't have that access.
For the party.
He cannot get ballot access. Nick Brana cannot get ballot access. You need a lot of boots on the ground in order to get that ballot access. And you need to convince those people that they are worth investing in. And in my mind, out of respect for Cornel West, I'll give you 3 months. I'll give you until Labor Day. Get to it. Don't sleep a lot between now and then because you got a lot of ground to make up for.
Nick Brana has to walk away. He has to exclude himself from
Absolutely.
This. That would be a way, and I've said this before, like, MPP is a great idea. Nick Brana has to go. Like, leadership-wise, forget all the allegations.
I understand.
The allegations. The financial stuff is a huge issue. A huge issue. Go ahead, Nick. I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, I was agreeing with you with what you said, and I will say this: 2024 is about to be crazy, man. It's about to be crazy.
Well, I wanted this to happen.
I saw Sabi share a gift. Like, can you guys imagine Marianne Williamson, the meltdown that she's having? In her
oh yeah.
Now that Dr. Cornel West, if the little
guys, it's only Marianne. It's only Marianne.
Bro, Dr. Cornel West killed the very small sliver of life that Marianne Williamson had. No one, that campaign is dead. And also, Dr. Cornel West exposed the cowardice of Marianne Williamson, RFK, because they wanted to run as a Democrat. And we are post-Duopoly leftists. And I think it was a giant disappointment that he ran with MPP. I think he should have ran with the Green Party instead. And that's a giant missed opportunity for the third party movement. I'm going to explain here very soon. But I will applaud him for running third party. Could you see someone who don't want to be accepted by the Democratic club? Someone who's not running for, I don't think he's running for career ambition. Do anyone think that? Like, even if we disagree with his strategy,
of course not. No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I think we all can agree with that. Even if we disagree with his strategy, I think he's operating in good faith. I think he's doing what he thinks is best. Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember, he was a speaker. I've live streamed the People's Party launch. A lot of people don't know this because this is my very early days of my YouTube channel. I was so excited for the People's Party at one point. I live streamed a 5-hour fucking launch. You can literally find it on my YouTube page. I think Ron was there. JB dropped out by a few times. I didn't. You muted CJ, but I think that was before I knew you, CJ. But I think Ron and JB I was super excited over the People's Party, and I kind of got disappointed after seeing how everything.
No, I said I remember that day. I remember you tweeting shit. I remember that shit was.
Yeah, I was hyped, man.
Yeah, that was the convention that I think Cornel West spoke at. Was that the convention? Yeah, he spoke. Yeah, he spoke there. Look, I've interviewed Nick twice. I've talked to his dad. He called into the show from his car one time when we were doing the show on the Nina Turner thing. Yeah. You know, I have not had any negative experiences with them, but it's clear. I mean, there's no question.
Sorry, King, but this is Marianne.
No, it's okay.
Sorry. I was trying to take it off. I'll put it back on.
No, it's okay.
Show it again.
Marianne Wilson.
No, look.
Go ahead, King.
Right here. No. Look, I think you're right, and look, I think when it comes to his strategy, his strategic decision, we can say he should have run as a Green. He could have tried to enter their primary if he wanted to. Word inside the Green Party is that they want Hawkins again.
Oh,
okay?
God.
They want to nominate a reheated baked potato for president again.
There's going to be a fight.
Maybe there will be. Look,
I think Cornel West will win hands down. If there was a primary in the Green Party, I have no doubt he would win, like, hands down. And he's the candidate that can make the changes in the Green Party. All the shit that everybody don't like about the Green Party, he's the one that has the face and the name recognition to be like, no, I'm putting you motherfuckers on the map right now. Mm-hmm. So either you come along with what I'm saying, and then Ajamu Baraka is absolutely going to chime in, and he's going to give his influence to that. So to me, this should have been a Green Party all the way. If this was Green Party, I literally would be cheering. We would have champagne right now. Yeah. Right now, we would have.
There's the big question: why did he do it? And maybe he did do it because they're kind of a skeleton organization that he can really put his stamp on and take over in a way that it would be harder to do with the Green Party, because they have their own people, they have their own insiders, and they have more of a structure. What are you dealing with to take over that party? I mean, you start at 9, you could take over by 5. So maybe that was part of why he chose to go that way. That having been said, look at what Kid is saying, and he's talking about one state. Do you really have enough of a remnant of the movement that went out for Bernie Sanders that is going to be willing to do something that would actually be harder than what they did trying to push Bernie over the top in all of these different states, to go and get this party on the ballot? Because look, you're not going for the win of the presidency. That's not on the table if you're a reasonable person. What you're going for is the 5%. What you're going for is to start chipping at that duopoly. And we on this show have talked a lot about what we would support, what we wouldn't support, and what usually comes up. We're not really at the point that we're just no electoralism whatsoever. I mean, I don't think we are. I'm not anyway. But not within the two-party system, right? It's got to be something that's going to burn that down. Okay, fair enough. Is this that? Going back to your point with Marianne, which Keaton pointed out. Yeah, we're working people, man. We're not rich dilettantes playing politics. Like, we don't have time to go fuck around with an effort that's just absolutely quixotic and doomed before it even begins? Like, can you really pull together a movement that's going to get this thing on the ballot in 50 states, even knowing, and let's not forget what we've all experienced, the system is rigged, even more so against third parties than what we experienced trying to make Bernie Sanders the president. So can you even do this?
You know, there's something else here too, especially in regards towards. I want to add a little bit onto what Russell said about my state in Illinois. Yes, it's very difficult to be on the for a third party candidate to be on the ballot, to be on the debate stage, to be secure. But also, you know, just speaking of my state alone, and in Chicago, we have an unfortunate track record of lack of election integrity in my state and of votes disappearing. Case in point, when Jimmy Dore used to be part of TYT, they were covering the 2018 midterms, and this was Marie Newman's first run at the Illinois 3rd Congressional District. And at one point, it looked like she was somewhat in the lead, and then a half hour, 40 minutes in, this was in 2018, by the way, a lot of her votes somehow disappeared. And Jenks said to Jimmy, what happened? And Jimmy just turns to like, that happens in Illinois. Votes disappear. Votes disappear. Votes disappear. And in my state, yeah, I would say the same thing if we were watching the same live stream and all four of you said the exact same thing. What happened to the third party candidate ballots? So what happened to their signatures? Yeah, they disappear. Oh, they weren't signed properly. Oh, somebody didn't dot an I or cross a T.
They call that pulling a Kennedy out there, right?
Yeah.
You
know, so the thing is, like, okay, it's great to see Dr. Cornel West do this, and maybe he could reignite the People's Party, but I have to say, what is the overall end goal? Is it absolute victory to win the Electoral College and the popular votes? Because again, a third party, if we were to really talk about a real viable third party, the infrastructure should have started in 2016, and then by then we would have probably had something far more powerful than what we're getting right now.
I think the goal of this is to pull as many votes out of the duopoly as possible. Pull as many people out of the two-party system as we possibly can on the best possible set of terms. And I personally cannot think of a better person to make that argument than Cornel West.
Sure.
I can't.
Sure.
Now, you want to tell me that he made the bad choice in terms of which party to run in? Fair enough. Fair enough. Is it so egregious to dismiss it out of hand? I can't go there yet because I have too much respect for him and too much hope in his vision. I mean, I've seen people complain. He calls Biden brother Biden. Yeah, he calls Trump brother
calls
Trump.
everybody.
Yeah. He calls Palin sister Palin. He refers to everybody as his brother and sister, whether he likes them or not, because in his mind, whether he likes you or not, you're a fellow human being, which means your fate is intertwined with his. And I think that's a beautiful way to look at the world and a beautiful way to look at humanity. And I think if we're talking long term, if we're talking about right now, okay, what is the goal in 2024? A, we want to extract as much support from these. Sorry, I almost said words I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. I don't want to get you strike too. We have to extract as many votes out of the two-party system as we can, and we have to do it on the best possible terms that we can. And I think he is a perfect candidate to do that. But do I wish he were on the green line? Sure, because then you'd have the added bonus of ballot access, and then you could really get to 5%.
You're just making everything so much harder.
You're making everything a lot harder. You're making everything a lot harder, and I think that's all valid. But I say they got 90 days. I'll give them 90 days. That's where I rule.
In 2019 me would literally be in a cold sweat. I'd be so excited. I'll be dancing, singing. I'll be ready to quit my job and get a campaign for this motherfucker. But I'm a different guy now.
Now your cold, dead heart will not beat.
I've been hurt. I've been hurt many times. I've been disappointed many times. But also, after the failure of the Bernie movement, I told the story many times on the channel. After the failure of the Bernie movement, and after I was part of that campaign, not because I was like, I hope we win. I was like, nigga, we about to win this shit. I thought I was so delusional. I thought we was gonna win that shit. You can look at all my
I thought so too.
The only reason I helped, the only reason I helped but because I thought we was gonna win that shit. And after that massive L on my part, after hyping people up like Bernie could win, I was like, now I gotta reflect everything. So one of the things I did, as I saw Bernie Sanders supporters shift to the right, got a bunch of Bernie supporters like, oh shit, the movement's dead, man, I will become a liberal again. Nigga, I was like, I'm doubling down and shifting to the left. I started reading Marxism and shit. You guys know the story. I was more of a social democrat socialist. Then after the failure of the social democrat movement, I was like, nigga, we gotta find new strategies. They let us off a cliff. I want to see what other successful revolutionaries have done. I want to read the idea and theories of people who actually know what left is. And that's how I come to this, my mindset now, where I'm only really interested, because I'm mostly completely divested from electoral politics. I say mostly because in Missouri, we got direct ballot initiatives. And I voted for that. We got legal marijuana here. We have we got affordable housing here. We had a Medicaid expansion, all because of direct ballot initiatives. These are the reason why I vote, right? This is the reason why I vote. But if I'm not seeing a continual movement based on Marxist principles, because Marx and Lenin spoke and emphasized the fact that we at our times as revolutionaries need to be building towards a revolution. It doesn't matter if it's realistic. If you say I'm not going to build toward a revolution because it's not realistic, you are not a revolutionary. All revolutionaries, no matter what their situation, should always work toward potential revolution. And that means working through outside anti-capitalist Marxist socialist parties. The Green Party is a socialist party. The People Party has multiple times stated that they are a capitalist organization. They are not socialist. So once again, I cannot betray my core beliefs. So it's a core belief of mine that you are not building a movement within a capitalist structure. It's a core movement belief of mine that you must follow the Marxist pattern of movement building, party building, class consciousness, and discipline. Without that, there will be no change. So I love Dr. Cornel West. We had him on the show multiple times. I'm one of the few people he follow on Twitter. He praised me for my Substack articles. I love the guy. But I cannot in good conscience tell you guys that this is going to lead to anything substantive unless there's a movement behind it. And we all know the People's Party changed their name from the Movement for the People Party to just the People's Party. Because it's not about building a movement. It's not about building.
They did that when they had to come up with a party name. Well, they had to actually register as a political party. Now, did they say that they're a capitalist organization or a populist organization?
They say they do not. They say they do not consider themselves a socialist.
That's why Ryan left.
And that's why I'm like,
Ryan left.
Sure thing.
Ryan literally left because their framework was pretty much being fucking.
His resignation tweet
said. That was a long time ago. Go ahead.
Said like, it's my firm belief that the way forward is a socialist construct, basically. And the MPP is not about that. And that's what he said.
Sure thing. So one of the things that I would say is that in that ad, what you saw was, he talked directly to the camera. He showed a clip of him on Bill Maher. He showed a clip of him on Joe Rogan. That's something that the People's Party has tried to brand themselves as this sort of populist, sort of top-down type of organization. No, I don't think they are a Marxist organization. And so, if that's where you're coming from, then I think, it's totally fair to have that critique. And like I said, I would not advise anyone to give any money to that campaign until they prove themselves. Once again, to make the Gordon Ramsay situation. Clean this fucking kitchen by tomorrow morning. Like, they have to clean up a lot of shit. What's that?
Sorry.
Yeah, bring your statement up. Yeah,
because I want to round it up.
Go ahead.
I know I was long-winded this shit because I actually had a long.
No, that's fine. No, go ahead.
I explained why I personally don't believe it's going to lead to anything substantive in terms of building a revolution. But I do find it interesting. Like, you guys probably see my tweets. This story of Dr. Cornel West running in the MPP is going to make 2024 absolutely glorious. Now, I don't think it's going to be any substantive change to the working class, but having someone of the esteem of Dr. Cornel West calling out Biden the way he is, I saw in the Chris Hedge Substack article, he calling out the Ukraine war, which is something I was like, man,
of course.
I see Cornel West say some really weird shit about Ukraine. That was the first thing I looked up, and in the interview, it seemed like he got it right. So I'm gonna keep watching that because he said some weird shit on Ukraine before. But if you read the Chris Hedges Substack article, like you said, CJ, man, if this motherfucker ran green, man, he was spitting. Like read the Chris Hedges article, he was spitting.
But
so,
even if he ran green,
I mean, you're right. If he ran green, I would personally, I don't know about Keaton. I mean, I would probably want us to be backing that effort.
well, then it'd be no question. I mean, it'd be a no-brainer if he ran green. I mean, that's a no-brainer. They have ballot access. And what do they have? 40 states, something like that?
Greens have party access too. I would vote for this motherfucker. So
and they get up to like 44 because some of the states they have to
they have to keep
sure. But look.
Recently, go ahead.
Fundamentally, whether he's as a Green or as an MPP, right? Fundamentally, his campaign, wherever he ran it, is not going to transcend the limitations of electoral politics.
That's it.
It's not going to, no matter what. So, like, no matter where he runs, that's not the revolution, right? But I think an integral step forward in just re-educating the masses and deprogramming them from this two-party system, which is the crux of this little show that we've got going here on episode 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me divest from the Democrats and divest from the GOP and put those votes in Cornel West column. I think on election day that's a fucking worthwhile endeavor. I do, no matter what fucking party he's running for. I think that.
I do make a distinction because when I do have a little pushback on this is not. If this was a Green, this would be a movement. This would be a movement if this was, because again, the movement, as Nick just pointed out, is running outside of the two corporate capitalist parties. And if the Green establishes a certain threshold, that means we are in a different stratosphere that we have not been in since, I can't even think back to since the Whigs, where the third party has sort of taken control in that way. So I do think if he ran as Green, like if he got the nomination and ran as Green, I think that would be game changing. I think Ajamu Baraka would probably get some sort of a title or some sort of offer to be on his campaign.
God, you're absolutely right. Yeah, but what would have to happen in order for him to catch on?
Let's go key and then kid, just for order.
Sure. Look, if for him to catch on as a Green and get 5%, he'd have to catch fire, right? He would have to catch fire. Now, is the Green Party infrastructure enough to bolster that much more than MPP's is? Not really, because you're talking about a mass movement coming behind him. So that's what I would argue. In the eyes of most people, like
they're on balance of 40 states.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
absolutely
a huge difference. Like we're literally talking about two campaigns, and if the campaigns were cars, one of the cars don't have any tires or wheels.
No, I understand.
One of them doesn't have it, and the other one does. Whether the wheels are flat, you can roll the car. You get what I'm saying?
That's it. You have to get through the obstacle of getting on the ballots before even getting to
of course. The car doesn't have tires.
Okay, all right. So first, CJ, Keaton, you both are correct. I want to bring up something before Do Dissidence at RBN ever got into the YouTube platform. First of all, in 2017, early 2018, my colleague Daniel and I covered a lot of Libertarian and Green Party events here in the state of Illinois in the aftermath of 2016. Now, during that one convention that we covered for the Illinois Green Party, there were a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters coming in. The key issue here is that an opportunity was lost, the infrastructure to build a movement. Now, at the state level, the Illinois Green Party here in Illinois in 2010 was a legitimate political party for 2010, and then they literally crapped the bed. They lost the opportunity and came right back to their normal status. It's because there was never an afterthought of what would happen when the infrastructure is built. And what Dr. Cornel West or whoever's going to be running as a third-party individual or candidate, you have to have a plan of when your candidacy is done. And that's something Daniel and I asked the Illinois Green Party. You have all these Bernie Sanders supporters here. You have a chance to build a movement. Are you building infrastructure? Are you putting it all in for one candidate and then just literally ignoring it? Because you could build a movement, but sometimes key figureheads, either they get too old, they have health problems, or their heart is no longer in the fight. It is about having a system in place in order to continue the movement on. And I think right now What we're all saying is, hey, it's great seeing Dr. Cornel West, Dr. Cornel West running for as a third party candidate. I don't maybe like that he's with the People's Party, but the bigger problem is that third parties, and this goes for all third parties, and I say this as a supporter of third parties, is that they have never really caught on to the fact of we have to keep on building even when no one is paying us a goddamn attention. And that's the thing. It's always a name and a brand. So if Dr. Cornel West is truly running for the People's Party, his main objective is to get 5% of the vote, but also get the 15% of the overall public approval for him to be on the debate stage, so that there is an infrastructure put in place for 8 years down the road for a potential third-party candidate. If we really want to talk about building a movement outside the two-party system, then this is the time where the Greens, yes, including the People's Party, Libertarians, all political parties need to start building up. They lost that chance with the remnants of the Bernie Sanders movement in 2016 because no one had the foresight. And that's why Daniel and I kept on asking this question to a lot of these people who no longer talk to us, because we kept on saying, okay, person X, person Y, person Z is running for office. What happens then when the election is over? Because we know that third parties aren't going to make it too far in Illinois.
Sure
I'm
thing.
just talking about my state. On the national level, it's a bigger question. How are you going to build and maintain a national movement when said election is over and Americans get bored? That's something that needs to be done. So Keaton, CJ, you both bring up good points. I just think I just want to reiterate to my point right here, and that is the opportunity was lost because people who were in positions of power never had the foresight to see what would happen after 2016.
No, that's
an
absolutely
issue.
right. That is absolutely right, and I think CJ and everybody's absolutely right. I would like to see him run as a Green, obviously, because it just makes that climb a lot shorter. But when it comes to branding, like, this is a question that I think is really important. When it comes to the toxicity of the MPP brand, I'm not as hung up on that for a very simple reason. Okay, real quick, off the top of everybody's head. Who was DNC chair in 2008?
In 2008?
Wasserman Schultz?
Howard
Was that
Dean?
Wasserman Schultz? Oh, no, I don't know.
Was it still? I don't know. Nobody really knows, right? You know why? Because no one fucking cares. Because the head of the Democratic Party in 2008 was Barack Obama. So as far as the general public is concerned right now, the head of the People's Party is Cornel West. Fuck this Nick Brown shit. Nobody's gonna give a shit about that.
You're only
Most people don't know who the fuck he is.
Part. You're only addressing the personality. You're not addressing the financial part of Nick Brown being. You get what I'm saying? Saying.
That's why I said. Well, that's why that was my whole thing earlier. No, that was my whole thing earlier. I said yes. The organization underneath him has a lot to prove. Has a lot to prove.
Well, but
that's why
I'm less on the personality.
Yeah,
I'm less about his personality. I'm more about the financial part, like working people donating to this guy that paid $20,000 for.
I agree with you 100%. I agree with no, but I just want to make this 100% clear. I agree with you 100% on that. Which is why, out of respect for Cornel West and out of respect for the vision that he brings to people and the opportunity to get people to divest from the two-party system and vote for him on Election Day, for whatever that's worth. It's not the revolution, as Nick says. You're absolutely right about that, Nick. It's not the revolution. But in the hopes of doing that at least, I would give them 90 days to clean the mold off the stove, right? If I'm Gordon Ramsay, I go in there, you have 24 hours to clean this fucking place up if you want people to invest in it. I would give them that.
Well, yeah, because remember, people outside this space
They
might
don't know
not
who the fuck
know
this
this
guy is.
but
Fuck
he's
Nick
got to
Brown.
build his base out of the people in this space.
That's what I
who
mean.
are very aware.
Exactly.
Of
No,
this
exactly.
history.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm letting everybody know about his shit. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, exactly.
Go ahead.
No, as you should. That's fine. Yeah. No argument there. And he probably should just step down. If he really cares about the movement and he cares about Cornel West, he should just step down and let somebody else do it. Just let somebody else do it. This way all that baggage goes away, or at least, most of it.
I said that quite a long time ago, Ken, when we did our initial analysis on the People Party. Like, if you really care about the movement, why do you have to be in charge?
Right. Why you got to
be
in charge?
We had the conversation all the time about leaderless movements.
Exactly.
Like RBN, we don't have an annoying leader. Why do you have to be the leader? Why can't you step down? Like, the fact that he's not doing that is kind of weird. But any other thing on the topic? I actually have a few further parts of this story I want to get to, because I know we got the RFK story next. But I have a few things I want to cover on this story. But any last thoughts on this topic before I kind of shift gears?
Yeah. So
go ahead.
I just want to put this out here for all third parties. These coming next few days, throughout the next months of this summer, will be very critical for everyone to get their name on the map. I know Larry Sharp recently, a few weeks ago, did a libertarian presidential town hall on his channel. Third parties overall, if you're very serious about this, then don't screw around with all of us, especially when you start coming onto our shows. Because when we ask you to be on our shows, when we ask you to maybe, I don't know, host a potential third-party debates with whoever your nominees will be, then have the, I don't know, courage and backbone to actually show up. Because when and maybe it's a little bit off subject, but when I reached out to the Libertarian Party, the Green Party for the national candidates, and yes, even Mark Charles, who was running as an independent, not affiliate, the only person who got back to me was Mark Charles. The Illinois, the National Libertarian Party and the National Green Party, you know what they said to me? We're waiting to get on the main debate stage with Biden and Trump. That's never going to happen. Yes, they said that to me.
Really?
They said that, both parties, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Where the hell are you coming off with this initial statement of trying to get on the debate stage with Biden and Trump? That's not going to happen. So third parties, libertarians, Greens, People's Party, whoever you're going to be, Dr. Cornel West, if you're listening to this, if RBN, Do Dissidence, Hard Lens Media, either individually or we do a joint live stream all together, if we ask for a third-party presidential debate live on all streaming platforms, show up. If you're authentic about really fighting, then show us how serious you are, because you know, Dr. Cornel West, you know, Greens and Libertarians, you're never going to get on the main stage, whoever the Democratic or Republican nominee will be it Biden, Trump, or whoever. So be authentic and show up on independent media, and don't play the screw around game with us, because I goddamn well nearly lost my mind when I read those two emails from the Libertarians and Greens way back in goddamn 2020. So shout out to Mark Charles, who's the only one who said, yeah, I'll show up.
Well, we'll tell them if they don't show up, we're going to do a little sock puppet with their name written on it.
Yeah,
and we'll
put words in their mouth.
Put words in their mouth.
Zoya's love, Zoya life. Big shout out to our honorary RBN member. I saw this while you guys were talking. I have a small presentation to do on my part of the Dr. Cornel West story that is slightly different than the MP conversation. That's why I wanted to save it for last. So this is apparently, I literally just saw this. I didn't watch it. I saw this literally while you guys were talking. This is CNN responding to Dr. Cornel West's run, and they said they are monitoring.
They noticed it.
Let's listen to this. And this actually, I'm glad I found this clip, because this is going to prove a point I'm going to make here very soon. So let's check this out.
Cornel West, progressive scholar,
I don't count bad.
Today said he's going to mount a third-party run for president against Biden. I mean, these things can really disrupt a few percentage points here and there in the way this country's split. Wow, how big of a worry is this for Biden? Well, right now they're monitoring it. And particularly in the short term for the Democratic primary, Robert F. Kennedy, they are trying to, make sure that the 20% doesn't grow, but they just don't know. Frankly, privately pretty confident that he's not going to get to the point where there's going to be a real threat to Joe Biden.
It seems like you don't really believe that.
Cornel West development today is different, because he says he is, as you mentioned, going to mount a third-party run. What that means is that in the general election, he could siphon off Democratic votes from President Biden. And
in Florida, too, if they got ballot access in Florida, there you go. Not that they're going to need it. The Republicans will win Florida anyway. Virginia.
So, the obvious conclusion you have, if your mind is not broken by U.S. propaganda, is if you do not want to lose an election and lose by the slim margin, is that you negotiate and give what the third-party activists want so you can get their support. But they blame the third-party activists for that. So I found this interesting. I want to play it live. Any take on the CNN meltdown before I move on? This point is actually important to what I'm about to cover. But
Well, it's just interesting how they don't even make an attempt to pretend that they're anything more than courtiers to the White House. I mean, that's all they are. Like you could see, it doesn't occur to them that projecting concern for the White House and for Joe Biden is unprofessional. That doesn't occur to them, because the meaning of professional has been so bent to mean
black man with good politics has entered the race. This is terrible.
This is bad for Joe Biden. This could really hamper his coronation. It doesn't even occur to them that projecting concern is not their job, right?
Well, this is the part where they're monitoring it. You know what that means? We're doing Oppo research. This is where the Nick Brana shit is going to come out. This is the shit that I'm talking about. If you think this shit, if a poll comes out and it show Cornel West with 10, 15, 20 percentage points, I'm telling you, they're going to go after the people they need to go after.
Oh yeah. They're
going to squash this.
Yeah. They're not right now. They're smiling because they're not actually taking it seriously. This is a segment like this is just clickbait for their zombies. Oh, God damn it, that Cornel West.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't he know we have to get behind Joe Biden? That's for those people.
There will be something interesting, though. Whoever it is, as a third party candidate, be it Greens, Libertarians, or People's Party, or whoever, if they were to get the coveted 5% or above in a national election, that would be something unheard of in the years of American politics that I have seen, that all of us have seen collectively, to where, it could be the signaling of the beginning of the end for the two-party system. Maybe not the full death blow that we want, because everything happens through time. It takes steps to get to where we want to get to, but it is something to see. And whichever third party is able to fully get to that threshold, it breaks the narrative that corporate media and the two-party system have had for some time. Now it matters of just can a third party maintain it? Because as soon as you have a third party break the system, the DNC and RNC as antibodies will quickly try and get rid of the cause of the problem.
Well, that's it. If he actually really started to get momentum and stick around for a while, it's going to be a very different image on that CNN screen. She's not going to be smiling.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The knives will come out very fast.
So this is the CNN segment was liberals melting down over Cornel West declaring third party, and that's kind of what I want to highlight as well, because I think it is extremely funny. You also have this is what I see in ton. You see Cornel West, his tweet is viewed by 10 million people. So you have people who hate the People Party that's melting down his mentions, but you also have liberals melting down his mention. And this is the mindset of the people who claim they're pro-democracy. The only possible outcome of your candidacy is a fascist victory.
Where's Rob Reiner? Where's Rob Reiner?
Yeah, right.
Hang on, kids. We're going to get you out of those cages. That's what he tweeted out.
I put this in the private chat because Sabby put it in a group that I just saw. I don't know if we want to watch it. It's long. It might not be worth it. You guys might want to do it some other time. But
it's probably high comedy, I got to say.
Shit.
Kyle
I'm
and Crystal.
My presentation's not going to take too long. You're talking about the cow.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
It's going to be tough to get through.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you.
I'll leave it to you. It's your call.
I mean, it looks pretty fucking funny because they're so
we got to cover that.
They're so ridiculous because they keep doing these videos that are like, what are they doing? Like Lance Bass and Malibu Barbie do political commentary? What is that shit?
Now,
I mean, it might be too long. It's up to you guys.
Now I'm very interested in watching the video. That's why I leave it to CJ for the call, because I know we still have to cover RFK. It's gonna be very interesting because there's another. I'm very glad you brought that up because there's another part of this segment I want to bring up as well, because CJ and many people I agree with is bringing up the criticisms of running within the People's Party, which I think is very smart and legit, and important to bring up. These are legitimate criticisms. But you also see the most unserious people in politics. Because CJ is...
Oh, here we go. Let's go.
Uh-oh.
CJ is a strong believer in implementing the right strategy. So CJ is allowed to have the criticism of Dr. Cornel West that he has. Meanwhile, today has been doomsday for Marianne Williamson. This is the apocalypse for the Vanguard. This is the apocalypse for all the Marianne Williamson stands. So they got to find a way to criticize Dr. Cornel West. But being the liberals that these people are, they don't care about intellectual consistency. Not at all. So I found one, because these are the biggest, most shameless Marianne Williamson simps that you can possibly find, right? The Vanguard. and I've seen many of them because I know the people who support Marianne. I've seen so many Marianne Williamson supporters type this out. Love you, Dr. West, but with all due respect, the Tea Party is right there and needs a good candidate such as yourself to get 5%. Running, remember, this is a Marianne Williamson supporter, guys.
Right.
Running with the People Party is unserious and beneath you. Marianne Williamson supporters. So apparently, according to the Vanguard, and according to Marianne Williamson supporters, running as a member of the People Party is unserious. So you better run in an imperialist, capitalist party where all your primaries is rigged. Then you become a serious candidate.
Right.
So you have all these Marianne Williamson supporters who have no criticism, 100% okay with Marianne Williamson running as a Democrat, but now they're melting down over people running over Dr. Cornel West running over MPP. And once again, have no criticism of CJ's criticism, right? But I hate inconsistencies and double standards. So why, according to the Vanguard and the many Marianne Williamson supporters I've seen, why is this such a bad move that Dr. Cornel West run as a member of the MPP, but Marianne Williamson run as a Dem is okay? RFK supporters, I don't think there's a lot of them, but the few that said the same thing. RFK run as a Democrat is the same? You guys see how morally inconsistent they are? Maybe, just maybe Dr. Cornel West running as a member of the MPP will be okay to the Vanguard if Dr. Cornel West invited them to their wedding, right?
Right.
So that's another. This is one of the hypocrisies I want to bring up because.
The difference is when you run, and this answers one of CJ's first questions that he asked, which is, does party matter? The reason it matters to run third party versus Democrat is that if you announce as a third party candidate and you vow to be on the ballot in November, whether it's in one state, if Cornel West is on the ballot in Virginia, Democrats are going to be shitting bricks because that's a fairly close state that they're supposed to win, right? CNN doesn't give a fuck about Marianne Williamson. They mock Marianne Williamson. They mock RFK. You know why? Because neither of them are going to be on the ballot in November. Neither of them are. On the day it all goes down, they're not going to be siphoning votes from Joe Biden. If Cornel West is on the ballot in the state of Virginia, he's going to be taking votes away from Joe Biden. That makes him a threat to the status quo, no matter what fucking dipshit party he's on. And that's why those faces on CNN, they're a little more anxious talking about Cornel West than they are talking about Marianne.
Can I add a little something in here? Because, Nick, you talk about consistency. I shared this in our group chat, but we all remember Peter Dow. You know, on today is June 5th of 2023 at 5:29 a.m. in the merry morning of Monday. He retweeted out a political polls which had Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Ron DeSantis, and Marianne Williamson. And he went on to say, in this poll, 4 candidates, Marianne Williamson has by far the best policy platform, including universal health care, reparations, an economic bill of rights, and meaningful climate action. To which I got to say, well, wait a minute. Didn't he tweet out some time ago that we need a strong third party?
Didn't he tweet out the people that got 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Me and CJ talk about we don't.
Yeah,
I was holding back.
I say this because the biggest thorn, and this is my opinion, as someone who's been a third party activist since 2016, so what, 7 years, 8 years, I've seen like the strategy that us third party activists has been using has been very shitty. Like we strongly believe the two-party duopoly is evil, but hey, it's okay if you support Democrats, support Republicans, it's all good. We all want to be family. At what point do third party activists say, we got to advocate for third parties and aggressively push back against people who don't? Because I used to be one of those people. I used to be like, y'all voting green, but I don't really care who you vote for. At what point do we say, at what point do we treat people voting Democrat the same way you would vote someone if you said they were voting Republican? Imagine if I was like, yeah, man, I'm voting for Trump next election. You'd be like, nigga, what? At what point do we have third party activists? We do the same for people who vote Democrat, the people who are supporting both sides. At a certain point, at third party activists, we got to draw the line. And they haven't been doing it. That's why Howard Hawkins got 0.3%. That's why Joe Stein got 1%. Because third-party activists trying to be friends with duopoly supporters. Nigga, you guys clearly see with RBN's coverage, if you're part of the duopoly, we don't care about being your friend, your family, your friend. None of that. And you guys, what ideas? And then we invite you on. We can be friends on this shit, right?
That's that Marxist discipline. I'm gonna, yeah, you know, I've been trying to be nice because he was such a rare convert from the Hillary camp, but I got to go back to calling him Peter Douche because you know, the other day he tweeted out such a disingenuous, you know, not really defense of Marianne, but like clearly for whatever reason she must have asked him. So this was very slippery. He used very specific language that he didn't say exactly that he was released from the NDA. He said that he was given permission to discuss the campaign. So what does that mean? Exactly. Yeah, and then he goes on
this story to point out. He was given a story to put out.
Exactly. But you notice he seems to be drawing the line at, I'm not going to say nice things about Marianne because he never does. He, like, the closest he came was, yeah, there's always drama on a campaign, but he would not say, look, you can put it to bed very simply, at least in terms of what you observed. I never saw anything like that on the He wouldn't say that.
Right.
And everything positive.
What's a cell phone in the eye between colleagues?
Hey, especially a nice phone.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
He talked about the platform. He talked about the people working on the campaign. This is what was really quite transparent bullshit to me because, you know, the Daily Beast said 10 people quit. And he claimed it was because he restructured and they didn't like the financial arrangement. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 people. 10 people quit because of that? Really? 10? With the history you have on these campaigns, I'm not buying it. So what game is he playing? And then he comes out, like Kit was saying, with this poll, like, what are you trying to keep 1 foot in and 1 foot out, like kind of stay in her good graces? Did she threaten to send Zool to drag you to hell? Like, what are you afraid of, man? It's you know, it seems like he's trying to play both sides.
Yeah, I don't trust these like people who support Marianne Williamson was aggressively Marianne Williamson supporters. They took a massive L. And coming up here. But let me read this Rumble rant that I caught. Appreciate the Rumble rant. And Janice, he said, fairvote.org and open debates hosted third-party debates for several election cycles. Yeah, actually, I haven't seen that, but we need to see. I want to see a debate between Cornel West, RFK, and Marianne, just because I want to see the political drama. I want to see Marianne. Actually, for maximum chaos, throw Nikki Haley in there. I want to see Marianne Williamson and Nikki Haley go on 2-on-2 against RFK and Dr. Cornel West on Ukraine. That's the kind of shit I want to see. But anyway, I'm gonna get to the last part of my story, and then I'll pass to you, CJ. Because the very last point I want to make that also shows why Marianne Williamson and RFK supporters, honestly, are in shambles. Because what was the excuse that Marianne Williamson supporters used to make? Oh man, I know she has to run as a Dem. You have no choice but to run as a Democrat. That's what Marianne Williamson supporters told themselves so they sleep at night for supporting the fascist Democrat Party. Now, I'm going to tell you guys straight up front. The people that say you have to run as a Democrat in order to get attention are people who want attention from Democrats. They are Democrats and they were praised by the club and they don't want to leave the club. That's it at the end of the day. My theory has always been that as long as you have a pretty powerful name, a powerful message, you can kickstart a third party, which is why we're extremely frustrated. Can you imagine this moment for Green Party or any upstart socialist or third party in general? This would be amazing ass. And what happened today completely exposed the cowardice of RFK and Marianne because Dr. Cornel West announced a run for president as a third party. And my screenshot is actually outdated. He's trended number 1. Dr. Cornel West, the third party candidate, trended number 1. But according to Vanguard and Marianne Williamson supporters, you can't run as third party because they will ignore you. Meanwhile, we just saw the CNN clip where
Marianne is the queen of TikTok, so that I know.
Yeah,
that's Trump's Twitter.
According to anti-third party people, me, aka Democrats, you can't run third party because if you don't, there'll be no traction. No one will report on you. Meanwhile, this directly proves that wrong. Because imagine if Dr. Cornel West ran the Green Party. Because you see, People's Party is trending as well. And if you click this People Party, at one point they combined it. At what point Dr. Cornel West was number 2 and People's Party was like number 5. Nigga, the People Party was number 5 trending nationwide because of Dr. Cornel West. And the whole trim tab was filled with a bunch of people saying, yo, this is why the People's Party fucking sucks.
Yeah, it was all bad stuff.
So imagine if we had this situation with a socialist party where there people like, Dr. Cornel West is wrong, but this party, let me look into that. But instead, people look into the People's Party and they are seeing trash, which is why this was a bad decision by Cornel West. So the theory of anti-third party activists is that you shouldn't run third party because you won't get attention. It's a waste of time. Meanwhile, our theory has always been, and correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, our theory has always been, if you get a big name, someone who's serious with a good platform, you can use that to start your party. Imagine a good party with no holes like the People Party. With training, people will start signing up like, oh wait, Dr. Cornel West supports this party. What's let me look at their website. Let me see what they're about. But instead, everyone talk about Nick Bronner now. You got
the only thing I can think is what I was saying. I think he looked at it like there's the only sense I can make of it. People already have made up their mind of what the Green Party is and what they think it is, and he wanted to be able to just introduce himself fresh because outside of our circles, let's face it, nobody even knows what the fuck this party is. Nobody's heard of it. Exactly. So he does have an opportunity to define it in a way that he couldn't with the Greens. Or he'd have a very hard time doing with the Greens.
I think the Green Party, I said it during our third party summit, I think the Green Party should change their fucking name. They should do a fucking relaunch. Like,
they should.
Relaunch,
no, they absolutely should.
The Howie Hawkins shit, the relaunch the party, like we talked to Ajamu, Mark Kimberly's against Howie Hawkins as well. Especially among the Black caucus in the Green Party, there's a massive anti-Howie Hawkins movement, which gives me hope because I was like, man, the Green Party really fuck shit up with Howie Hawkins. So they have made that adjustment, but I think the Green Party should change their fucking name because I asked them about that during the third party summit, and they said they don't want to change their name because they want to maintain solidarity with international Greens. Nah, nigga, that shit is done. After the Ukraine war, after all the shit, the Germany Green Party, the England Green Party, no, change the fucking name, rebranch the party, relaunch the party, and that would be a success. And put back if you guys disagree, but I think if you relaunch the party, name it. I don't know. I'm not good at name. CJ, no, I'm not good at name. But name like Socialist Party, some fucking shit, Workers Party, some shit like that.
Joe Rogan dick riding party.
New leader, and then do it. That shit would be fire. But anyway, go ahead, guys. If you want to chime in, that's my last point on the segment, by the way. So CJ, you can take after this.
We'll get a couple of words.
The Jill Stein Dadaist folk music emporium party.
No, what I think. I mean, look, what I would say to that is that if he gets to a point where there is enough energy behind him to the point where he is actually going to get 5%, which means 1 out of every 20 voters in November of next year goes into a booth and pulls the lever for Cornel West. If he's going to get the energy behind him to make that happen, I think the party he is associated with is going to be less important than we in the online left world think it is now. Because when we see People's Party, we think Nick Branagh. We have flashes in our heads of all the Twitter shit and all the drama surrounding him and the People's Party. You're talking about building this out to the point where you reach the general population, which doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. I think those concerns in the grand scheme of things are going to be relatively minor. Ultimately, it's on him to make the case. And in the short term, you're absolutely right. It is on the People's Party to make the case that they are worth the investment. And with the Green Party, you don't have that hurdle, which is why, yes, I would agree fully. In an ideal world, he'd have run with them. Absolutely. I don't think there's any question about that.
If the Greens want to be relevant, they got to ditch Howie Hawkins. As someone who's interviewed him a few times, he is uninspiring, and he just reminds me of that chicken from Futurama that was that lawyer. He's got to go.
Super Chat's terrible that night. Terrible. Horrible.
but he has
dead as dog shit. Yeah.
Again, the Green Party as an institution. When I spoke to Howie Hawkins way back in 2020, he was against Julian Assange. He was viewing, again, this is almost peak Russiagate. Green Party, fix your image. and maybe again to Keaton's point, if you're going to run with the Greens, you have that baggage of the Greens being crapped on by corporate media with the People's Party.
Kid, I interviewed Howie Hawkins. I interviewed Howie Hawkins, and CJ, you saw it. People that was there during when our
you lost your soul.
I interviewed Howie Hawkins.
Anything about baggage with Greens, baggage with MPP. All this talk about baggage, we're talking about a very small slice of the population that even knows what this baggage is. We're talking about getting 1 in every 20 voters on election day. No, but in terms of baggage, in terms of Hawkins, in terms of all the internal politics
the Hawkins
I don't think the
this is all
matters.
niche stuff.
When people think Green, they think Jill Stein.
Or
because the
Nader,
media made
right.
sure of it.
Ralph
to
Nader,
blame 2016 on Jill
Ralph
Stein.
Nader, Jill Stein.
I think the bottom line is when it comes to a run like this, you have to inspire a lot of people. 5% seems like a small number, but it's not a small number when you talk about a national race. You got to inspire a lot of people to say, fuck this shit, fuck the Democrats, fuck the GOP, fuck the media,
even if it
fuck them
means
all.
the Republicans winning.
You have to get a certain number of people to say, the hell with all of this, I'm voting for Cornel West. Period. It's a Molotov cocktail through the, window, just in the way that Trump was. You got to get people to say that. It falls to the candidate to do that. It falls to the organization behind them to convince people in the early stages to put some money up, put some time in. MPP has a lot of convincing to do. They have cost themselves a lot of goodwill over the past few years. They have a short period of time to make that up. Can they do it? That's up to them. That's the way I see it.
I don't think they can. It's just,
Hey, you could very well be right. You could very well be right. Absolutely.
And the thing is, just to close it out, my point to add to that. Because the people, it's similar to the Nina Turner race, that she had people she spoke to that Cornel West could get that has no idea about what's happening to MPP. But the problem is the people who do know it are the ones that you need to have that's phone banking, are the one that you need. You get what I'm saying? The people who are online are the most invested. This is the reason why Nina Turner lost, is because we weren't invested in her campaign. So I do think that is a factor. Now I have queued up this video. It's such a tale. They try to be nonchalant, so they talk about something else for the first minute and a half. Like, we're here for something else, like trying to make it like this is not a big deal. But go ahead if you were going to chime in.
Okay, I'm sorry. What are they thinking image-wise with these fucking Barbie dream house videos and this now? Like that, there's like we covered this where Brianna Joy Gray and Katie Halper had a discussion about class, drinking martinis and munching olives. Like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Like, how do you think this plays? Right? You're supposed to represent a kind of populist left, like doing this kind of like reality TV upscale. Look at us being pundits and palling around with Marianne Williamson. Like, how do you think that looks to people? Do you think this plays? Like, what are they thinking?
I don't get it. They started doing these like I guess on demand sort of videos, I guess you can call it.
They started doing it about a year ago. It was about a year ago when they came out about the fact that they were dating. For whatever reason, they thought people wanted to watch them like hanging all over each other and talking about politics. I don't know where they got the idea that there was a huge demand for that.
Okay. All right, so let's play. Let's try to get through some. We don't want to be stopping, so maybe let's play the first 2 minutes, and then we can stop and comment, and then maybe play another minute, and then close this out. The RFK segment will be the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes or so.
Sure thing.
So let's speed this up. Let's try to go warp speed with this one. Let's listen and let me know if you want to stop. If it's just so egregious, I'll stop it.
This is a straight up reaction video. None of us have seen
it. We're going in cold.
Let's
do it live.
Oh god.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Okay, do it live.
Oh, let me turn up the sound because the sound isn't the best. So let's listen.
We apologize for the abuse to the audience.
The reason why we're recording is because we just got news. It came out like a couple hours ago. Apparently, Cornel West is running for president. Now, he's not running as a Democrat He's not running in the Green Party. He's not even running as an independent, although I think that might be a little up in the air depending on the structure of the party he's actually running for. But he's running in the People's Party. Now, for those of you who don't know, the People's Party was created.
There's like kids in the hall.
Yeah, I remember that show.
Race of Bernie, a staffer for Bernie by the name of Nick Brana decided he was going to create this third party. So they've been around since, I don't know, 2016 or 17 or 18 at the latest, something like that.
Yeah.
And they've been around since then. They don't have ballot access, and they've never gotten a candidate elected. So, and then there's been all this reporting and all these questions around the structure of the organization. There's all sorts of like sexual harassment allegations against Nick Brana. There was some sort.
Well, none of that's happening with the Democratic Party, right? There's no financial problems.
No, there are no scandals
allegations.
like that.
None of that's happening.
Okay, look at Crystal. She is fucking pissed.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, ruining it for my connection to build up Marianne Williamson. Damn you, RFK. Damn you, Dr. Cornel West.
I threw away my credibility for this.
This is what I don't understand about their supporters. Like, look at these people. Like,
I know.
I know. Like the people that have your class interests. Do this is like the kind of people that have their ears tuned to the streets? Do this is like people that have any sort of fucking anything in common with you guys? Like, that's why it baffles me. Like, I get why liberals watch them, but I understand why anyone left a liberal, well, I guess they probably don't have any, but anyone left a liberal would watch these millionaires that completely out of touch. Like, I don't get the appeal.
The heated seat left.
Yeah.
Another
the
great
four-door
name.
left.
It's not just that they live like this, it's that they're so out of touch that they don't see anything wrong with showing you that they live like this while talking about a third party candidate. It didn't even occur to them that this is bad optics.
Sort of like the wine glass moment, like you mentioned.
Right.
A coup of the leadership positions that Brana did. Like, it basically, the organization itself is a total mess, right? So,
but Democrats are not.
When it comes to Cornel West, I love Cornel West. We had him on Crystal Kyle and Friends.
He's a hero of mine.
He's a brilliant dude.
I don't know
why he's a hero of mine.
You got it going into spaces where like people would disagree with him,
yes,
and making himself be really likable and
does
really
an amazing
agreeable
job
while not like giving up his principles at all.
Yes,
I see him at all the best marches.
He's there. Dynamic, charismatic, intelligent guy who I happen to agree with on probably 90% of policy stuff.
Yeah.
So I love Cornel West. I'll always love Cornel West. But honestly, my theory on this, and I'm curious what you think, Crystal, is that I don't think he looked into the People's Party at all. You know what I mean? Like, I genuinely think it's sort of like a boomer moment.
Dude, as I said in my last segment,
hey, we want you to run.
As I said in my last segment, Marianne Wilson supporters criticizing MPP is going to fall unbelievably flat. Everyone on this panel can do it because we're not supporting a candidate that runs in the Democratic Party. How does any of your critiques don't apply to the Democratic Party?
Right, exactly. Have you guys been researching the Democrats for the last 7 years?
Right.
What party you fucking running?
Yeah, you see how fucking smug.
Have you heard?
Research. Nigga, you didn't do research.
Have you heard
that the Democratic Party is being led by a rapist who has more to do with the carceral state than any other living politician? Have you heard about that?
That's the same way where Crystal Ball says RFK positions on vaccines is a red line, but Marianne Wilson funding Nazis in Ukraine is. You guys see how much inviting someone to your wedding will bias your commentary to the point where there's no common sense in it? There's no common sense. You criticizing Dr. Cornel West for running in the People's Party, but you okay running in the Democratic Party after they cut social spending?
No, he didn't research MPP enough.
So how is MPP? Like, let's take and I think a lot of us are in agreement on here. The worst shit that MPP did was being a badly ran organization, right?
Well, and what about Marianne Williamson? I mean, she's got this 30-year reputation of badly run organizations, which they have never once asked her about. Mike Nichols, the film director, picked up with a bunch of other people on the board of directors of her AIDS organization and went and started their own to get away from her. Why would they do that? What is that, a competitive space? Everyone's trying to get into the AIDS charity business. Why would they do that if they weren't reacting to anything real?
I'm telling you, I'm gonna keep fucking with these people because I hate inconsistencies. You know what I mean? I really like weaponized hypocrisy is a form of corruption. And this is them misleading all. So Marianne Wilson, their organization is great. Democrats great.
That's pretty funny.
But Dr. Cornel West didn't do his due diligence on the People's Party. That's the level of analysis.
He had a boomer moment.
Anyway, let's continue the video. I know we want to be fast. Go ahead, CJ.
I can't believe he said they had a boomer moment as they support 70-year-old Marianne Williamson. I don't understand that.
The same Marianne Williamson who in 2020 was a part of the People's Party convention, because she spoke at that, said that she would not break away from the Democratic Party. She said this to Crystal because Crystal interviewed her when they were still on Rising. Marianne Williamson said that they have to defeat Trump. So in other words, Kyle and Crystal, what are you guys complaining about? I mean, Dr. Cornel West is going further than what Marianne Williamson will do. And again, 10 out of 10, I'm confident out of this. We all have said the same thing, that Marianne Williamson, as soon as she drops out of the race, is going to endorse Biden or whoever the Democratic establishment shill will be. That's what she's going to do. So in other words, Dr. Cornel West answered your question that you asked Marianne Williamson way back in 2020.
All right, let's continue. Thank you for that, Kit.
I don't think he did. I don't think he looked into the People's Party at all. You know what I mean? I genuinely think it's sort of like a boomer moment where he was approached and, hey, we want you to run and be our candidate or whatever, which, by the way, is a whole separate question, because usually the way these things work is you have a fucking primary to determine who your candidate is going to be, and the People's Party apparently just anoints somebody.
Oh, God, how many more decades with
we're the
this
democracy
fucking
people.
asshole?
Are you really?
What
you
was
just
I
anointed
thinking?
somebody the head of your party. Wait, you're supposed to have an election to figure out who's going to be the leader. But anyway,
fair point.
I love Cornel West, so that's a side point, but I don't think he knew about all the issues with the People's Party. And so, all it requires is a Google search and digging a little bit deep, and he would have found it, but I guess he didn't do it. And so my guess is he's probably surprised right now at the backlash that's happening online. There's a decent amount of backlash where people are like, what are you doing? Do you know who these people are? And then I see a lot of people making a point, which I think is a fair point, which is if you're going to run as a Green Party or an independent, because the Green Party, for example, I think the last election they had ballot access for 48 states.
Yeah, they have a real organization.
Yeah, even
but now they advocate for the Green Party. Now you do it. Are you fucking serious? As if you haven't whored yourself out on your channel to Marianne Williamson without any of these critiques. Now all of a sudden you're a Green Party activist. Get the fuck out of here. Unbelievable. They try to pull this shit off. You know the Green Party actually got 47 states. In the Marianne Wilson video, they were making excuses on why Marianne Wilson ran as a Democrat. She ran as a Democrat because that's her best chance to win. Now when it comes to Dr. Cornel West, all of a sudden you're a third-party scholar. You technically Green Party got ballots. Get the fuck out of here.
Let's continue.
So as far as third parties go, the only ones that are even remotely viable, and I use that term loosely, is the Green Party and the Libertarians.
I mean, you also have, DS.
So let's understand the definition of viable. Let's understand the definition of viable. It can't be a rigged primary, and she has a viable option to get elected. Absolutely. Those two things can't coexist. If it's rigged, by definition, it's not viable. That's literally like the definition or a synonym or something to that effect. This doesn't make any sense to me. Let's continue. Unless you guys are done, I kind of want to hear a little more. It feels like they're going to give more critique of him. I want to see if it's more than boomer moment. I'll go back some more.
Yeah, go back just a few seconds, because I think Crystal about to say something hilarious.
Okay.
Organization.
Yeah, even the Libertarians have between 48 states and 50 and all the states. Yeah. You know what I mean? So as far as third parties go, the only ones that are even remotely viable, and I use that term loosely, is the Green Party and the Libertarians.
I mean, you also have, DSA out there, which is a presidential candidate.
What?
I heard say it. We paused it. I had to hear it again.
I mean, they don't run candidates, do they?
They're an organization, not a political
party. They don't run
listen,
organizations.
Listen, once again, the critique that we have of MPP is legitimate, right? Because we also have critiques of the DSA. You cannot shit on the MPP while propping up DSA as legit. Do you mean a pro-war DSA? The DSA that believe you should take over the Democratic Party? Have you done your research on the DSA, who they are? This is absurd. Go ahead, guys.
No, well, no, I mean, all the times I interviewed DSA, I mean, let's face it, 2016 and 2017, 2018 were probably their high points when they were getting a lot of the remnants of the Bernie Sanders movement. I mean, since then, what have they accomplished? Pretty much jack.
You had them on?
And I see A1 in the comments.
I've interviewed them in the past.
How did you handle the clapping ban? Did you avoid? Because we close out our show with clapping.
No. The people who we interviewed.
That's why we haven't asked them on. We'd have to change our whole outro.
The outro. Yeah.
No, they would always like it was like pulling teeth with them, especially earlier on, because all the DSA members, all these, all these groups were always concerned about, are you trying to take advantage of our name? Take advantage? Like, no, we're trying to shine a light on what are you trying to do? Are you building a movement? Are you setting up a political party? What are you going to do to help out the people here, not only here in Chicago, but nationwide? Like, what is your overall plan? And all what they do is discussion after discussion. There was nothing that they offered. It got to the point where, I'm again, same thing was covering those protests, wasting my time talking to people who just like to sit around and feel good about themselves. And that's it. No fighting.
As many people in the comments have mentioned, because we got a base community, they apparently know more than Crystal Ball does. The problem with what you just said, Crystal Ball, is that the DSA is not a party.
Right.
Like,
what is she thinking?
Oh man.
Let's play. Okay, let's play. I'm gonna go back just a little bit so you can hear that last line, and then I'll let it play for another maybe a minute and a half.
You know what I mean? So as far as third parties go, the only ones that are even remotely viable, and I use that term loosely, is the Green Party.
I mean, got self-driving cars.
I mean, you also have, DSA out there, which has never fielded a
organization
before, but they have, chapters nationwide, and it's a real organization with some sort of, infrastructure. That
it is not a real organization. That shit is really Democrats.
So it's perplexing. It's very confusing.
So the DSA strategy is the same as my strategy, which is, you be part of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, but run as a Democrat. Now, why would you run as a Democrat?
Oh my God. I'm sorry, CJ. These videos are really hard to get.
No, because he's trying to. Look at what they just did, which is I don't know if she's pretending to be stupid or she's thinks her audience is stupid.
I think she is looking down the barrel of 40 more years
about the Democratic Party. But when they say DSA, why is she acting like the DSA operates outside of the Democratic Party? So when she says they got the DSA and then they got chapters, they have chapters, but they support the Democratic Party, and we see why they said that. It's coming right back to the Democratic Party because these are Democrats that has been selling themselves as progressives, and they're not. They're just Democrats.
Dude, I can't believe they said it, CJ. They just said it.
That just hurt my brain. That just hurt my brain.
This is the part where Kyle's trying to convince people that the Marianne Williamson strategy is legit. Like the last 5-8 seconds of this was glorious. He's like, this is actually I support the strategy of running them. You know that what Marianne Williamson's doing. Instead of running, like this is unbelievable. Worse than I possibly.
Let me hear it.
This video thus far. Listen, go back to that part again. This video thus far is worse than I could possibly imagine. Like this, I see you, Steve. It just gets worse and worse. I cannot believe that people watch this garbage. Look at this part. Kyle didn't slip. So after bashing the People's Party, he then brings it back to the Democratic Party. Like, actually, you guys not support taking over the Democratic Party. Oh, girl, Marianne doing the same thing. Listen to this. Look at that. Look how you think he's slick. Go ahead, play CJ.
Same as my strategy, which is, you be
a little bit further back. Hang on 1 second. Right here.
Structure that could theoretically be mustered behind you. So it's perplexing. It's very confusing.
So the DSA strategy is the same as my strategy, which is, you be part of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, but run as a Democrat. Now, why would you run as a Democrat? It's very simple. In this country, we have first past the post voting, and we don't have ranked choice voting. as long as you have first past the post voting and you don't have ranked choice voting, you know what's going to happen? No third-party candidate is going to win Dickie McGee's axe ever. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. I mean, we don't have any.
That is maybe if that's a fact. How is it? I go back to this, and I can play some more if you want. How can you, out of one side of the mouth, say they are rigging the elections by putting South Carolina first, by doing this with the debates? It's rigged, meaning it is a predetermined outcome. But then you say the Democratic Party is the viable way for your candidate. Those two things cannot exist at the same time. You have to pick one, but they're trying to act like it's almost like they are meaning to say these two things out of their mouths because this is not really to actually get tangible shit. This is just a season. It's season to run. So we're running and we're doing this because it's the season. Go ahead. Anybody want to chime in before?
And what would they have done if he had run as a green? They would have said, "This is great." Yeah, no, they would have found other grounds to criticize.
Of course.
Yeah. Another thing too. Here. Hey, Kyle, I'm about to sink your theory in 3, 2, 1. Didn't you and Fat Tony set up a movement called Justice Democrats that you two were promptly then in a few months were kicked out of? So there's no way to reform the Democratic Party because the Justice Democrats got co-opted by the Democratic Party. Same thing as DSA. So you can't be part of a movement and organization that's supposed to bring change and then still run back to the neoliberal party. What are you, stupid? Did you forget what they did to you? What they did to you and Cenk? I mean, not to mention AOC and the squad who are associated with DSA and Justice Democrats no longer even show up on your goddamn shows. So what does it tell you, Kyle? It tells me that you like get smacked around and lose all the time and not even put up a consistent goddamn fight. So all this crap about talking about a real movement and then running as a Democrat, how are you going to pull it off when every attempt has failed?
The fact that he actually positively mentions DSA and praises DSA in 2023 shows how completely out of touch he is with activists.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
most activists, not even as far left as RBN, have been disowned DSA.
Yeah.
DSA is considered a clown in my neighborhood. Like DSA, nigga.
They lost 12,000. They lost 12,000 members. We covered this, Nick. They lost 12,000 members last year.
Did they?
They have members not responding. They were called chapters and reach out. They're not getting responses. Yeah, we did cover this story.
Yeah, dude, they lost like 80% of their membership since 2016. Since 2016, they lost around like 80%.
I'm going to cut you off, Nick, but I got a little question to ask. Wasn't there also a report a while back that some chapters weren't even getting properly funded as well by DSA because there was a lack of, again, communication with resources? I mean, this was the height at their movement to where, I mean, I guess maybe people could forgive it a little bit, but they never got, and was there any talk about that at all? Because I believe that was also an issue too for local chapters.
I don't recall that off the top of my head.
My point being, look how out of touch they are. Cal, they're in their super expensive SUV. I imagine going around 40, 50 grand. That me being conservative. They're in their super expensive SUV. They're millionaires. So they completely disconnected with activists going on. Every activist, all mutual aid organizers, all socialists, DSA is a joke. But according to them, they still popping them up. How out of touch can they possibly be? Let's continue to be. Like, this get worse and worse.
There are no Green Party members of the House. There are no Green Party members of the Senate. There are no, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If you change the structure of the system, and we wake up
wow, she looks so angry.
I like her. Yeah,
we have ranked choice voting like that. I instantly become the biggest cheerleader for like the Green Party.
Yeah.
But since we don't have,
how brave of you, Kyle! This is my last time with y'all.
She looks angry.
Holy shit out of me. So Kyle said, look at the bravery of Kyle. Kyle says, once we change the system, after the system been changed. We got ranked choice voting. Once everyone does all the work and then the third party look like they about to win, then I join. You guys see the problem?
No movement building. They're not interested.
Imagine being the white person in the civil rights movement, like, yeah, I support the civil rights, but you guys gotta be damn near already there. Like, you guys are about to get civil rights right now. Imagine you're a white person, you're a white boy in the 40s, like, nigga, I don't think the civil rights shit gonna work, so I'm not gonna support it. That's what Kyle is saying here. Kyle is waiting to a successful third-party operation, then he's gonna support it. That's cowardice. and that's someone who's completely disconnected from the movement. Because people like us have no choice but to make this shit work. Kyle's like, I'm gonna be here and be rich forever until you fucking peasants figure this out.
This is just that there's like if Christopher Guest decided to make a movie about the online left.
Right,
there's like Best in Show or Spinal Tap, where they just like to get these ridiculous characters and just let them improvise how absurd they are. Like her just sitting there with those sunglasses, just vaguely pissed off, but it's not clear exactly what it is. Did they have a fight right before they filmed this? Was he like, no, it'll be a great video? She's like, I don't want to film a fucking video. No, we have to do it. Cornel West now.
Yeah,
fine.
Right.
Like, that's the energy here.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Disenfranchisement in a way. It's like, let me run without even having a remote prayer of winning, and like just sort of like raise, the status of my ideas or whatever.
Like,
but
wrap it up.
Wait. Listen to what they just said right here.
We got fucking 10 more minutes of
this.
this.
No, we can't watch
16
that.
minutes.
No, we're gonna end it after this. But listen to what he says here, and you tell me this isn't exactly describing the Marianne Williamson campaign. Listen to what he says here.
It's like self-disenfranchisement in a way. It's like, let me run without even having a remote prayer of winning, and like just sort of like raise, the status of my ideas or whatever. But
isn't that exactly what they said many times?
Yeah.
Isn't it value? I'll take it down now. Isn't it value in somebody running just to raise the subject of this and that and that and that? That's the whole thing they said. Now it's a problem. But any final words on that, and then we can quickly just cover the RFK reaction video there.
Crystal has that look of, all right, buddy, come on, you almost wrapping it up. Come on. See, she has that look of, all right, then fun time's over. I got to put down the camera.
Where the fuck are we driving anyway?
Yeah,
where are we going?
Again, 16
minutes away.
Yeah, it's a 16-minute video of what? Of them complaining about Dr. Cornel West. I mean, come on, get out of here, man.
They just project such narcissism. They're just so full of themselves. Like, oh no, we'll do a video of us in our Louis XIV room. They'll love it.
What's shocking and what was triggering the shit out of me throughout the course of that video is how confidently wrong they are. Like how smugly they will say shit that made no sense whatsoever. And I guess there's some people that just need that aura of legitimacy. Like they see someone who dresses well, they speak politely, they have an aura of professionalism. They just listen to him. But I was listening to that video. We barely made 5 minutes. We were stopping there every 20 seconds. Could not get past 2 seconds or 2 sentences or so without these people saying something stupid. But they get away with it because they get the aura of legitimacy because of their class. Like if you had an ordinary working class person with a country accent like mine say the stupid shit that they just say in their car, they will have 50 subscribers.
You're right.
And that's
You're
like
right.
because I literally don't know how they do
Right.
it. I literally do not know how they do it. Even me at my most shit libby, I would not fall for this shit. I promise you. I would. There's no.
You hear me say it all the time. I don't understand because I didn't come. I came through the Tom Hartman radio as far as progressivism. I didn't come up listening to TYT and Kyle, and I'm like, I don't know who is listening to this guy because he doesn't come off to me as at all intellectual, at all like knowing at all what he's talking about.
I don't get why people.
I don't get it. I really don't get it.
I actually got to dip out because I got some lot of stuff going on in the house. My brother's here and everything. So I'll pass to you guys for the last segment. If you
and we'll close the segment out. We'll do this.
I see you guys tomorrow. RBN Live. See you guys.
Yes,
all
sir.
right. See you, Nick.
See you, Nick.
But go ahead. You were going to chime in before we pull up this last story, or were you ready for it?
No. I mean, we've said that a lot. Like, we were talking actually to Keaton's brother today, and he was saying, you guys are in early. I said, no. The guys who got in early were the guys who started in 2016. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned Kyle. That motherfucker has no talent at all. If that guy started now, he'd have 6 subscribers. Who would watch that? If he's been doing this so long, you go back and you watch his old videos, you're like, where are his parents? There's child abuse. He's a fucking, he started this, he was a fucking baby. He was a baby. Yeah. He looks 12. in his old videos. That's why, man. If Kyle came up today with all the people in this space, you would.
He got in on the ground floor.
He got in on.
They got in on the ground floor.
Humanist
Report too.
Did. Humanist
David
Report.
Dole,
He's another one. David Dole. None of these guys are interesting enough.
Well, the thing is,
they didn't already build all those subscribers, that they could do that if they got in the space now.
They also got connected to TYT and to another extent too in 2016. When the Bernie Sanders movement was at its highest,
right?
You know, they were all with Jimmy Dore too at one point, and they eventually stabbed him in the back. They eventually became the worst. David Dole, you have Kyle, and even the Humanist Report too. I mean, they all of them in some form or another ran on fake populism, and then as soon as they could, quickly make a name and brand for themselves. Now, obviously, I think we all saw what happened to Humanist Report. His channel got demonetized because he broke away from TY.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
He wasn't for any rule. It was some technical thing where he broke from the TYT network, so he had to reapply, and they didn't grant it to him.
Yeah.
Why didn't they grant it to him?
They didn't grandfather his time. They just gave him like a new account. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't grandfather as he been around.
Oh, he had to start over again. You mean?
Yeah,
so, like,
which is stupid.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. I'm sorry that happened to him, but also the way he planned to break away from TYT is like, dude, that was your bread and butter. What are you doing? That was so stupid of you. So, you know, I mean, but it's funny. It's funny to see all these people who now are all in with the DNC and have Trump derangement syndrome now kind of being revealed as the lackluster hack frauds that they are. I think it's funny. It's funny.
I think it's
but sad too.
Funny
and sad.
So let's get to this. I guess we can call it the final story. This is, you know, what I thought initially was going to be one of our sort of headlining stories. Now, I got to be honest. When I saw this picture, I didn't immediately recognize like the person, his face, or knew who the person was. You know, I didn't recognize that. Not until I start. Oh, this person. I looked it up and I was like, oh wow, this guy's pretty terrible. So this is Margaret Kimberly tweeting this out, and that is RFK Jr. sort of doubling down, and I think that's the name of the segment. Is that the name of it? Yeah, doubling down on his Zionism. And let me read this, and then we just kind of get reactions from a couple of different people. So let me read the rabbi's tweet first, and then I'll read you. Actually, this is pretty long. But it says Rabbi Botek, I think that's it. Rabbi Botek today met with the Democratic presidential candidate. Let me blow this up a little bit for the seeing impaired myself specifically. So Rabbi Botek, or Botich maybe, today met with the Democratic Party presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and discussed Israel, the rise of anti-Semitism, and Kennedy's recent tweet where he supported Roger Waters. Quote, "It was courageous of Bobby to come and meet with me and reassert his lifelong support of Israel and the Jewish people, continuing in the legacy of his great father who was murdered by Palestinian gunmen." Sirhan.
That is
because
low.
of his own support of Israel in 1968. End quote. Rabbi Botich and Kennedy discussed the volatile situation in the Middle East and the challenges facing America for more than 2 hours. Kennedy explained that his tweet about Waters was in response to someone sharing with him a picture that Waters flashed at Kennedy at one of his concerts, saluting the candidate's willingness to swim against social currents. Quote, "Bobby told me he had no idea that Waters was a vicious anti-Semite, and when he studied the issue and facts, he immediately deleted the tweet. I believe Bobby, and I thank him for his repudiation of Waters. How tragic is it for Waters to have his legacy as an anti-Semite now overtake his legacy as an accomplished artist."
With who?
I don't know, but I think I'm going to stop I'm going to stop there because I do want to get to Margaret Kimberly, and there's a lot of reaction I want to get to. But
I'm not gonna lie. I have dropped Orange Sunshine and listened to Dark Side of the Moon, but that's as far as it goes.
He posted. He had a video. He was in a video with that guy too. I would just put that in the
Yeah,
chat if you want.
we're gonna
Okay.
get to that video too. Margaret also quotes tweets that. Here's Margaret quote: Bobby told me he had no idea that Waters was a vicious anti-Semite when he studied the issue and facts. He immediately deleted the tweet and quote: I have no use for progressives except for Palestine or for people who shove others under the bus. And she's referring to, of course, RFK Jr. So let me zoom out, and if any of you want to chime in real quickly, you can. I'm just going to show just other reactions.
Look, I have to thank him, because now maybe these RFK Jr. stands will shut the fuck up and leave us alone.
I also want to add on here too. You know, I covered that 2 hour and 40-minute Twitter Space event with Elon Musk and RFK Jr. And I got to say, at the end of it, there was no questions from the audience, like say for maybe 1 or 2, and this was at the final minutes, and no talk about Israel or Palestine at all, especially during that Twitter Space event. It was completely avoided. And I have to say, again, there was a video that Pasta of the Convo Couch posted where, you know, RFK Jr. said at the end that he's for its right to exist. But dude, RFK, you're right here next to another guy singing its praise and saying that you'll do everything they can to be a cheerleader for it. I mean, the Palestinian people don't have clean drinking water. I mean, they have nothing. There's literally nothing in Palestine anymore, save for the fact that ongoing apartheid attacks that are happening towards the people there. I mean, they have nothing left to live for. No hope, no nothing. There's no infrastructure. We're seeing lands being systematically being taken over. I mean, is there anything going to be left for the Palestinian people?
Well, and this is so dishonest. I mean, Roger Waters lost his father and his grandfather in war. His father fighting the Nazis. Mm-hmm. War has been his number one issue throughout his entire career. He's been calling out war without any favor to any particular nation, calling out the oppressive power of the states, particularly where they commit violence against their own people or against colonized peoples. That's his beat, man. I mean, that's where he's been artistically for really since 1980 at least. He's made that central to his music and his stage show. To call him an anti-Semite, I mean, it's just disgusting. It's disgusting.
All right.
To just state that as an established fact. Oh, well, it's a shame that we appreciate him acknowledging that he's a vicious anti-Semite. Like, what are you basing that on? What are you basing that on? That he's because you know what they're mad about? That he put the murder of a Palestinian journalist next to the name of Anne Frank in his show. That's what they're mad about.
Right.
That he made a moral equivalency. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That they made a moral equivalency. I saw that show. I saw that show. We used footage that I shot for a segment we did on this last week.
Wow. So here's the video. I think this is the same video that you were referring to? Okay, so let's listen. It's about 32 seconds. This is so shameless and cringy to be doing this to me. But let's listen.
No. 1, 2, 3. I want to thank our dear friend Bobby Kennedy, phenomenal friend of Israel and the Jewish community, for joining us to celebrate the Israel Parade on Israel's 75th birthday. Bobby, this crowd loves you.
God bless Israel. I'm going to be a champion for Israel as president, and God bless you.
And you see how much they have, the love they've shown you, your family's legacy, your family's contribution to America, and the friendship between Israel and the United States. And God bless you, Bobby. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bobby.
That was pretty terrible. That was pretty terrible. We had to sit through that, but my wife's phone. That was now this guy, this rabbi guy, but actually first to what he said in the video, and in the text of calling Roger Waters, it's not just Roger Waters is for the Palestinians, but to call him an anti-Semite, and then what he says in this video about sort of like the undying love that his family is supposed to have for the Israeli state. This is, to me, just overkill. It's almost like because he said something about Roger Waters, he has to overcompensate so that the Israeli lobby don't come. He's like, look, I made a mistake. Like, don't come for me like you came for Nina Turner. But I'll pass it to the panel. What say you so far about the video and the picture that we're talking about?
Well, I mean, it's just an absolutely hideous thing. And you know, there's a million things I could say about it. In the interest of time, I think I'll make a point. This is part of the constraints of running within the two-party system. Now, I'm not now in this case, I think this really reflects RFK's piss poor stance on the issue. I don't think he's posturing in this sense. But when we talk about running outside the two-party system, it's not just because of the inner workings of the parties. It's because of who you get to appeal to, right? When you're running outside the Democratic Party or the GOP for that matter, you get to appeal to people who will come to you. Cornel West makes a pro-Palestinian, pro-human rights statement. He's not limited to Democratic voters who are going to be upset by that. He gets to appeal to a broader population of people. So this is why party matters. With regard to this fucking RFK guy and all this bullshit, I mean, I'm sick of this crap already. I'm sick of it. Especially now with Cornel West in the race. And I'm not saying you have to be on board with Cornel West. I'm not fully on board with Cornel West for reasons we talked about earlier. I think there are a lot of reservations that people have about where he chose to run and how that campaign is going to be handled and whether it will go to waste or whether it will grow into something. That's all fair. If you support a Zionist, Russiagating, Hillary voting Democrat over Cornel West's third-party run, I'm sorry. Your politics are not mine. We have a very viewpoint diverse audience on our show. Oh, there are right-wingers who watch our show. That's fine. Yes. I'm not saying turn our show off. In fact, please don't turn our show off. But
in fact, subscribe if you haven't yet.
Yes, exactly. But your politics are not ours. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You're going to make a left argument for RFK, a Russiagating, Hillary voting Zionist. Why? Because he thinks the measles vaccine will make your dick fall off or whatever the fuck he thinks? Like, nonsense. Nonsense. I'm sick of this already. Now, especially with Cornel in the race to, like, actually provide an alternative. Marianne's not much of an alternative, so, like, whatever. But this guy, I mean, come on. Enough of this already. Enough. This is garbage. Garbage.
Well, if you notice already after the Waters segment we did last week, we really weren't getting those RFK chats anymore. I think a lot of people got the fucking message. Like, how do you defend this? How do you defend it?
How? There's no defense for that. There's absolutely no excuse for that.
Let me just read what Aaron says.
This guy who's just a virulent bigot. I mean, just the lowest of the low to be meeting with him, posing for videos. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
get out of here.
And this is Aaron says, I'm a big admirer of RFK Jr.'s courage on issues like Ukraine proxy war and Assange. Sorry to see him stand with a bigoted supporter of Israeli apartheid. Now, so it sounds like if both of you know a little bit more about this rabbi than I do. Do any of you know enough about him where you want to kind of just tell us who he is?
No, I'm basing my opinion on what he said. To come out and brag that this guy denounced Roger Waters as a vicious anti-Semite, that tells you everything you need to know about this guy and the dig about Sirhan. I mean, only
a Palestinian,
only the most vulgar of bigoted pricks would go there.
I'd also like to add on here too. I mean, if people can hide under the rock.
Support the Palestinians. They killed your father.
Right. Exactly.
Well, there's another thing too, and that is like, look, calling Roger Waters all these names. I mean, have you not been paying attention to his music or where he stands with human rights and advocating to help out the disenfranchised? I mean, he's always been consistent. I mean, we're quoting Nick. Nick's not here right now on the show because he had to head out, but I mean, consistency is key. Being consistent. Roger Waters has been consistent where he stands on the issues. The fact that RFK then quickly deletes a tweet because he doesn't want to upset potential donors. I mean, get out of here.
Not only that, what party do you think you're running in? Like, you don't need to satisfy these people. They're not fucking voting for you anyway. Right? They're gonna, like, come on, man. They're gonna vote for an establishment Democrat, or they're gonna vote Republican. A lot of these guys are Republicans, actually. So who do you? This is why running inside the Democratic Party, if you're trying to run an insurgency, it doesn't make any sense.
Don't tell that to Kyle.
You don't have any voters there. Yeah, exactly.
And Jan in the chat just made a good point that I actually should have made myself. RFK has openly said that he believes Sirhan is not guilty. That's another thing that makes that
right.
whole
Did he have that out with him in that 2-hour
Yeah, right,
conversation?
exactly.
Wait, actually, you know what happened? YouTube actually deleted that full interview that he did with Mike Tyson. That was 2 years ago. Matt Orful actually tweeted that out. And when we actually covered that on Hardlands Media like a few weeks ago, early in May, I actually have the link to where RFK Jr. was on Mike Tyson's podcast. And that video says this video has been taken out.
Mike Tyson's podcast?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did see the advertisement for that. Yeah. Any final words sort of on this story, RFK, before we exit out? The medicine is wearing off, so it's wearing off right at the right time. So
yeah,
but last words, last words, sort of like, because kind of a lot of these topics were kind of, you know, we were basically talking electoral politics, you know, whether it was Green Party with or MPP with Cornel West, or RFK Jr. in the Democratic Party, or Kyle in the Democratic Party, DSA by way of the DSA. So, but what say you? We'll go around the room or around the panel. We'll start with Russell, then Kit, then Keaton. How do you want to wrap up? What are your final thoughts on anything that you want to close with?
My final thoughts are: it is now my mission in life to dose that rabbi and lock him in a room with the Animals album for 24 hours.
Okay. Okay.
You asked for it. That's my final word on the matter.
Right on. Hey, I did ask for it. So go ahead, Kid. If you have anything you wanted to say, go ahead.
I'm going to be looking forward to talking more about this on the morning show tomorrow at 9 a.m. So we'll be talking a little bit more about the presidential candidates. But one thing I want to say to this audience is don't get blinded by these politicians. Don't hero worship. Remember the lessons that we all learned the hard way in 2016 and 2020. Focus on yourself. Focus on helping out your community and your neighbors, and help contribute to building something grander than relying on the electoral system. Because look, elections come and go, but what we build together as a community can be far more greater and beneficial for us all, instead of relying it all onto politicians, because you'll be disappointed.
All right.
Absolutely. And Keaton, go ahead.
Well, I'm saving the date, August 9th. Cornel West and his wife are renewing their vows at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. I just received my invite today, so thank you very much to Cornel. I plan on attending. I'm going to bring Russ as my +1 if my wife is okay with that. And, you know, we'll take some pictures, and we'll have a great time. And, that'll provide a good time, a good
we're
team building.
We're going to see if we can get you an invite, Jay.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Thanks,
we can do if we can pull some
that.
strings. Indeed. We'll all get together, we'll party, we'll take some pictures, and have a great time.
Can I come too?
Absolutely, of course.
Absolutely,
Yeah. I
of course.
assumed you were invited.
Yeah, you didn't get your
You
invitation.
didn't get it?
No, I didn't. I feel left out. What am I going to tell my Bo Peep, Catelyn Collins? I mean, she's, you know.
Exactly. That was a great show. Those were really good topics.
At least now we have a candidate in the race that we can invite on our shows without feeling dirty.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, Cornel. Now that's the thing. It's like as far as my last words on and sort of this, but the Cornel West part, it's disappointing. Like, because we all would love to have a candidate like this. It's just, you know what I mean? It's always something missing. Like Chris Tucker said in Friday. You know, it's peanut butter, no jelly. It's always something missing in this sort of concoction. So
no, you're right, and it is tough because in this case you feel like you're so close. You know, you're so close. You're one decision away. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now I don't know if you guys want to stick around for the super chats talk, or if you wanted to head out. It's up to you. I'll let you kind of make the decision. I do kind of run through them a little quicker than Nick.
I can hang out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
We'll do it.
All right. So I'll start from the bottom here. Good you guys stayed around because I think this first one is about you guys. It says Russell and Keaton helped me and Lucy register 3 million new New Yorkers. No party. I don't know if you guys had the pull to do that. But...
Charlie Brown reference.
Yeah. Here's this next one. Crystal has 2 speeds, angry and fake perky.
Yeah.
And thank you for that super chat.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny that she's supporting Marianne Williams because she's a classic Marianne.
Yeah, right.
She when with Cornel West coming out, could you imagine him running as a Democrat? What would they say at that point? Like, how could you still be at like if the whole because they sold us on, well, we need somebody at least one left person with all the great. So you have this other person who doesn't have two of the sort of cons of Marianne Williamson, which is the Palestinian thing and the Ukraine thing. You take that off, now you're still not supporting him. It would have been a clear a way to clearly say, okay, this is clearly a vanity project. This is not you about putting up the best left candidate. And I think so. They kind of like missed dodged a bullet there by him not running in the Democratic Party, even though he's still taking up all the air in the room, and he's not even running the Democratic Party. So
I mean, it will be interesting to see what this does to the polling for Marianne, and I think more significantly RFK. I can't imagine there are a lot of people who would support Marianne who are going to run over to Cornel West now. I think that's a different kind of person, but I think especially with this Israel Roger Waters thing, a lot of the RFK stands run over to Cornel.
Yeah, they're going to go to Cornel. I think Dr. West is shooting for 5% in the polls and pressure Biden for concessions. I'm just not on board with these like sort of massaging like finesse tactics. I'm just not. I'm just
and I don't think he is either. I think if you're running third party, you intend to be on the ballot in November. I don't think you're about getting concessions and okay, I'll stand down. I mean, if you're going to run third party, you're intending to be on the ballot.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Please, God, don't let Kyle and Crystal procreate. Come on,
that
be nice.
Be family friendly.
Right. Be nice, everybody. Come on now. We don't want to get. We want to keep it in the realm of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
All right. So this next one. Go ahead if you wanted to say something before.
No, I was going to say, hey, look, we could criticize people. Come on, don't. Let's not go too lowbrow.
Right. Is Princess Blanding worth talking about anymore, or is she just a one-hit wonder, done and over with after her one-time attempt last election? Are you talking about Mary? Is this Marianne Williamson?
It would have to be.
Speaking of, yeah,
I would imagine.
Thank you for that super chat, Nubian X. Let's read this one. I think, this is a new one. This one by Joe Clements, and Jane Clements, and this is the second one. Thank you for the super chat again. These two are a couple of elite class sleaze bags. I'll let that speak for itself. I won't make it. Yeah. All right, so I think this one too. Maybe we didn't have the Cool Club. Is that us? Or are you talking about Kyle and Crystal? Maybe, or are you talking about?
I hope it's us.
I hope it's us.
I hope so.
Yeah, sure. Come on.
Thank you for this super chat. Also, love this collaboration. Keep it up, y'all.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this might be the last one.
Virtuoso.
Hey. So Virtuoso says, I want to wish the panel and viewers a happy Ronald Reagan death day.
Oh, that's today?
Okay.
Is that today?
Is this the 20th anniversary or the 19th? I know he died when I was in high school, so it could have been either 18th, 19th, or 20th. I forget.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah.
All right. It said this next one says,
wow.
Let me wait for it to populate for me. The third party run doesn't need to get on the ballot in 50 states. Get it in a handful of blue states and break the back of the Democratic Party. And I think one of you were alluding to that, I think it was you, Keaton. It was like, if he gets, that's a real threat in Virginia.
Yeah,
Florida's a big one. Florida, and if think about Florida and Virginia, if they were able to kind of cap those, that could
Fair.
be a way of attacking it. So that's fair. All right, so let's go to the next one. I don't know if we read this one already, but I'll read it just in case. You guys let me know if this has been read already. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the one we just did. Yeah, which I agree with. I think that's absolutely right. The goal is to break the Democrats. Absolutely.
This one
And
right
bad
here.
cookies. No, Reagan died back in 03, 04, 05. That's when I was in high school. It's not in 2020. That's what I was talking about.
All right. So this one, some can afford to live in a hotel, and people that clean the rooms never could. We need to root for the cleaner dealings with the obnoxious rich and their semen-stained sheets every day. Semen-stained sheets every day.
I mean, that would be a great slogan for a strike. Less semen, more pay.
You think there will be a Twitter space between Elon and Dr. West? Do you guys think so?
I would hope so. I know we actually theorized that
that would actually be pretty interesting.
Awesome.
Well, that's the thing about, Dr. Like when they put the clip of him and Joe Rogan in that ad, right? That speaks to the instincts that I think Branagh had when he talked about making it more a populist-aligned party. And again, running third party, not as a Democrat, you can put Joe Rogan in an ad without some woke piece of shit like AOC chirping in your ear. Well, you shouldn't have done that. I'm not coming to your rallies anymore because he's this and he's that. It's like, shut up. Just shut up. You're irrelevant. The Democrats are irrelevant. RFK is irrelevant. Marianne is irrelevant. They're not going to be in the game in November because they chose to make themselves irrelevant by running as Dems. And so Cornel West, because he's not a Democrat, most of the Democrat, he doesn't have to deal with that Democrat base of voters who's afraid of Joe Rogan. You can put Joe Rogan in an ad and trust that most people who see it will like it and respond to it and just message your own campaign on your own terms. That's what's exciting about it.
Well, and also, I mean, Cornell is a humanist in the true sense.
Yes.
He's going to sit down with Elon.
Of course.
He's going to call him Brother Elon.
Brother Elon, yeah.
And he's going to say, Brother Elon, why you want to send people to Mars with all the problems we have down here?
Right.
That'll be an interesting conversation.
He likes people, and people like him, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This one says we should be building a workers' party from the ground up and not rallying around top-down decisions. And I think we all were kind of speaking to that point. And thank you for the super chat. This next one here, my computer is a little slow because my two girls are gaming. They got home from gymnastics, so they're gaming. So it's slowing down a little bit.
They're taking no Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I bet Dr. West wants to run just to shift the conversation towards people's interests. Again, I'm just not on the conversation as the goal of the run anymore. Like that was Bernie Sanders in 2016, maybe 2020. It's no more of that for me. I think that might be it. Oh no, this one here.
I'll just say real quick, 2 seconds. When you're running independent, when you're running as a third party and you are committed to being on the ballot in November on the day the shit goes down, you're not just running as a conversation starter because you're actually disrupting the final vote count and creating chaos and disruption within that electoral process. So yeah, Democratic primaries are about putting ideas on the stage, platforms, conversations, right? Fuck that. Fuck that. Garbage. Who cares? When you're running as an independent, you're on the ballot in November.
They don't honor those things anyway.
Of seriousness to it.
Even when you win, you lose. Oh, they go to pass student debt relief. Oh, gosh.
The court. Yeah, right.
Oh, the court. Right. You're not, even if they honor it, they find a way not to.
They find a way. And this one, I think this is the last one. Kit nailed it. The Matthew Holt interview illustrated the struggle for ballot presence. And to that point, and for me, that's just it. That's just it. Like if the bottom line, take everything out, Nick Brana, bad finance, they just don't have enough ballot access. So for me, over this 90-day trial period that you're calling it, Keaton, that's what I'm listening for. I'm listening for how Nick Brana is not going to be involved with the finances.
Right.
And listening how are you going to get on at least another 30 states ballots, maybe 20 state ballots to really affect change in a way that can really be pivotal to bring these parties to agree to some things. So those are my
I think
final
that's totally
words.
valid. Yeah, totally valid. Yeah, 100%.
So any shout out about any special guests you're bringing up on your show before we close here? I got dinner,
actually, yeah.
What do you have a special guest?
All right, let's hear it.
We got a hot one coming up on Sunday. We're actually having Jordan Sheridan on the show to talk about this kind of stuff. So that could be a barn burner because he agreed to come on. We were because you tweeted out the clip of his video. We were going to cover that. But I was in touch with him late last year when he was on leave because he just had a kid. And so Russ said, you know what, if we're going to talk to him, and criticize him, and we were in touch with him, why not invite him on to, tell his side of things? So I said, okay, sure, I will. And it took a little cajoling because at first he was kind of cold to the idea, as I suspected he would be. But yeah,
thought we were
going on Sunday, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward.
So
to
I know what I'm covering on Monday.
Yeah,
so
you
guys
give you guys some material. Yeah,
you're welcome. We gave you all the content.
When will this be? This Sunday?
It's going to be this Sunday, the 11th at 7:00. He told us to schedule that as a tentative date. I hope he doesn't reschedule. He might have to, but I told him I was going to announce it, so hopefully we stick to that, and it's this Sunday at 7.
All right, it's gonna be a great Monday morning for Hardlands Media.
Yeah,
good evening for RBN.
Yeah, but seriously, props to him. Despite our differences, props to him for coming on, for agreeing to come on. And I'm looking forward.
That is one thing is one thing I do give him props to, because he brought on JB even after we had our little spat, and he still brought on JB. So I do give him that, and I'll leave it there. I don't want to give more.
Yes, leave it there before we blow it, and he says he's not coming on anymore.
I'll leave it there. So
I leave it there, but I hate that motherfucker. I hate him.
All right, so thank you guys.
I train my dog to attack the chew toys every time I say Jordan.
I'm gonna toss you guys in the bag. You can check out whenever you like. Thank you for this awesome episode again. Again, I'm signing off now. Probably with no outro video, but I do want to bring up a couple of flyers here to kind of promote before we head out. First off, Erin's doing some fantastic work. These are the graphics she's made for this stream in the Post-Duopoly show. So make sure you show some love by donating to our GoFundMe. You can go to our website to get that. Actually, no, let me just put it here on the screen. It's right there scrolling at the bottom. If you go to our GoFundMe, or just go to the GoFundMe page and type in Revolutionary Blackout. We're always raising money to pay our employee, one of our editors. So make sure you donate if you have the opportunity. And the other thing we're raising money for is this Skid Row outreach, Saturday, June 17th. We want to buy food and clothes depending on the money that we are able to raise. We want to give away food and clothes. And if you want to help, our email is outreach@revblacknetwork.com. Or if you want to send donations, there's two places to send donations. One is Cash App, Mutual Aid Forever, and the other is Venmo, Forever Mutual Aid. So either one of those, you can donate to this particular fundraiser for Skid Row. And then the GoFundMe is for our editor. So we're going to leave it there. Again, thank you for joining this episode of the Post-Duopoly show, and we are signing out.